filling up a water bottle.
Yeah, if you hear a water bottle filling up, you shouldn't worry about it. It's not like anybody has relieved themselves. Oh, we're live, by the way.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, we're live tonight to cover Psychic Awakening 2, Fire and Furry.
Uh-oh.
No, that's the
Well,
Faith and
this one...
Fury, right? I think that
Yep.
our promo
Faith and
guy got
Fury.
mixed up. I think he was slipping through it and saw some of the Emperor's Children and took a liking to the Furry.
Oh, yeah. He took some liberties with the little font there and some colors. Looks pretty nice.
Yeah, that's not bad. Now, where do you think, if you had to pick a faction before we get into this, where the fire would be coming from?
I don't know, actually. Probably salamanders.
But they're not featured in this necessarily. Not unless you count the...
Well, chapter master, maybe.
Ooh. Yeah, that's true. But I guess we'll find out. Let's dig in.
Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, Fire and Fury. This one came out, was number 2 in the sequence, right?
It was. And, I think let's cover the retrospect first, I guess. No, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Fu Manyu.
And I'm Cyprian.
And again, we're here to cover Faith and Fury, as we've probably said already 3 times, the second release in the Psychic Awakening series. And I think a release that a lot of, I would say, a lot of Chaos fans were anticipating.
Yeah, I was really excited for this one. Because I play Black Legion, and, there's a lot of stuff in here for us.
Well, right. No, it's funny you mentioned that. We got a lot of stuff
in Vigilus, so
I have both Vigiluses here. For that reason alone, I did bring both Vigilus books with me, but I don't have them, as you can note from the tabs up there, revealing what books we will be covering throughout this. That is Psychic Awakening, the Space Marines 2019, and Chaos Space Marines 2.0 is mostly what this book will cover. And I gotta admit, like, anytime Chaos gets something, I always feel like they gotta give Marines something too, but that's great. That just reinforces, I think, our point collectively is that Chaos is just inherently better.
That's true. Yes. Well, the models look better. They play better on the table. They look better when they're fully painted. Just better overall.
Better attitude.
That's right.
No.
Because they have some.
This is all debatable. So, yeah, all that said, we'll get into some of that. I think we'll skip some of the fluff. TLDR, word bearers get into it with a battle and the sisters, and they use some psychic energy to try to break their will, and then they find out, the sisters can manifest that same will of religious sort of, I guess, fervor and fortitude into their own sort of iteration of the Emperor and thwart them off. So, another standstill. I know a lot of you guys love that out there.
Yeah.
No, I give it credit. There's more there. We could cover that at a later date.
This book came out right after the Sisters release, right?
It did. And it also, if I'm not mistaken, came out shortly. I guess the Marines, I'll put it a different way, Marines 8.0 or 8.5, the Marine 2019 book had come out. I believe. Gotcha. And that's sort of why I think they took this opportunity to sort of expand upon some of the legions that hadn't gotten any attention in Vigilus. Mm-hmm. I think Vigilus we saw mostly Black Legion, and then all the
Renegade chapters.
Renegade chapters. Thank you. Yeah.
But yeah, so a Black Legion player's perspective, Vigilus was really cool. I actually am glad to see that other legions got the same treatment in a whole book, because I know when the Vigilus 2 came out, you and I had some discussions about it, and it was kind of like you had brought up that there was a past edition where if you played Chaos Space Marines, you either played Black Legion or Red Corsairs.
Yeah,
it seems like that's the same way it was with
5th edition.
2 came out.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, I'm glad that some other armies got some toys now too to play with, and as we'll get into them, we'll definitely see some really nasty combos that you can do with.
Oh boy, by the primordial truth, you are correct. Yeah, we're definitely. But we have to start off on a more righteous note, and we will start, in chronological order of the book. And I think initially we'll quickly go through the neat little tools they give the Adeptus Astartes in upgrading your various HQs from your chaplain all the way down to even the champion. I think in that respect, going from company to chapter.
Right.
Then I'd like to spend a little time on Black Templar. I know we may have a listener out there that had played them previously, and I'd like to say that from what I enjoyed about I think it was Gav Thorpe that wrote it. No, it was Graham McNeil. It was one of those two. I might be way off.
I believe it's Graham McNeil.
Yes, that book where they had their their oaths, their litanies. They would fall forward instead of falling back in the days when you would fall back at failed morale. Some of these new rules and stratagems and all the damn artifacts and relics they bring to bear just to thwart the witch. They're here, and I love it. So yeah, we'll definitely spend some time there. And then there's the the prime, the gem of it all. All the traitor legions. Oh boy.
Yep, and that's gonna be really fun to go over because they get some toys too that are not Legion specific. It starts off with once again kind of a callback to some older editions where you got some demon weapons.
Yeah, demon weapons. And full disclaimer, we'll just get all the disappointments out of the way now. I think you and I discussed going into this. We were hoping there would be a treatment where there was incentive to have Undivided as treated as its own mark, more than just the +1 leadership. Which, wow, yeah. I just thought about that. That's really good in the new edition coming up, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, actually, that would be.
It's not bad, at least, and it's one of the cheaper ones too. That banner I'm talking about, folks don't know. We'll get into it. It's a +1 to your leadership, and with the new combat attrition rules out, that you don't want to fail that test. So, has me looking at the word bearers in a whole new light.
Yeah, because with normal Space Marines getting no fear, having a Traitor Legion being able to kind of do something similar is pretty impactful. So, but yeah, so we should probably just go ahead and jump right into it.
Boom, master the chapter. Yeah, so here they kind of give you a breakdown of how this book is used, much the same as a lot of the other ones. If you've got relics, it effectively is interchangeable with the parent codex. In this case, it is the Adeptus Astartes, so it would exclude Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Dark Angels, and Grey... sorry, I almost said Grey Knights. Yes, Grey Knights too. Death Watch.
Yep. It's basically the non-codex adherent chapters.
And then we have our chapter litanies. And these are to address specific litanies for the chaplains in each one of these chapters.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this is that it's basically a free bonus litany. So you're not really paying anything extra for these. These are just kind of like a little cherry on top of whatever else you get. It's like, oh, you're Imperial Fist Chaplain. You get this in addition to anything else.
Yeah, well, you have the option of it, right? I believe.
Nope, it's automatically included.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep, it's just like an additional
spell. Okay. Nice.
Yep.
Very nice.
So, yeah, it's cool. I don't think there's any in here that are too game breaking, but
no, we encourage you to look at them. Do you have any that stick out to you?
Well, as an Imperial Fist player, the one that is for us is basically I use this litany, and then a unit within 6 inches of my chaplain can overwatch on 5s and 6s.
Ooh.
Which is going to be very good in possibly the next edition.
Yeah, you're going to have to really capitalize on those overwatches when you're able to get them. That's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's just really cool that they kind of add some more flavor to your chapter.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. And it fits. It does. These guys, their siege, defense is really their forte, and they also can thrive at the offensive well. But it would stand to reason as they stand their ground and absorb the oncoming charge. They'd have good overwatch, at least when the chaplain inspires that. Fortress of Resolve. I like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Hear tales of the great conflict atop the walls of terror, where stoic resolve was the order of battle amidst a sea of traitors, and a sea of traitors it was.
Yes, it was.
Sea of truth bearers. Okay.
Oh. But yeah, so those are the new litanies that chaplains get access to. And speaking of chaplains, you can spend a command point and make your chaplain a Master of Sanctity.
A Master of Sanctity. And that, you're effectively one of the high chaplains of your Space Marine chapter.
That's right.
With that, you get some perks, right?
Yeah, so a Master of Sanctity basically can use 2 litanies at the beginning of the battle round instead of 1, which is pretty good. I mean, these things are not like psychic powers, so it's not like your opponent can deny them.
Right.
And it's just a die roll. 3+, it goes
3+. Off. That's right. And what we just learned previously, if you're taking a chapter-specific one out of this book, you certainly have, the one that you come with and the one that you get to choose as your chaplain. Mm-hmm. There's the 2 that you can spend. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, you also get to know an additional litany as a Master of Sanctity. So you know additional, and you can recite an additional. So yeah, essentially you can have a Master of Sanctity that knows 3 and can cast 2.
Still better prayers than a Dark Apostle on the Council. Okay, anyway. And they also have some options to Warlord traits that are specific to the Master of Sanctity. And basically that means that you would gain that keyword, as said here in the stratagem. And so for all intents and purposes, anytime they mention it again, just assume your chaplain, who is now the Master of Sanctity, has, the title to go with the keyword. So, right down below, Wise Orator. Oh, this is when you roll a dice to determine if a litany is recited by the Warlord. whether it's inspiring, you can re-roll the dice. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you get to basically re-roll instead of like a Dark Apostle can take his henchmen to, get that litany off on a 2+.
Right,
This
right.
guy can basically re-roll it if he's your warlord.
Yeah, yeah, and that's pretty good if you're going to be throwing out a few of them a turn. And it says it didn't look like it's really limited by anything. It's not like the first one a turn or.
Oh,
Oh
yep.
wow. Okay.
It's like, yep.
Or he can take bellowing firebrand.
Yeah, this one I think I prefer personally, just because a lot of those are 6-inch range, and a lot of their generic litanies from the book are very range oriented. So you might want to cast it on a dude of intercessors that are a little bit further away. So getting to have 3 inches to the range of your litanies is pretty good.
Yeah,
You look
for
at
sure.
9 inches instead of 6, 50% increase.
Yeah,
Good.
but don't let that lend you into the false security that you can keep him more than 3 inches away from a unit in the new edition. That's for sure.
That's true. You're gonna need some bodyguards to keep your dude alive if he's not gonna be surrounded by his peers or fellow warriors. He can definitely be shot.
That would be interesting seeing that kind of play out. It's more for the guys in the front line. Hey, you hear that? Yes, okay, great. Moving on. And I guess with that, you get some options to some pretty interesting relics. Relics of the Reclesium.
Mm-hmm.
A Master of Sanctity, a model with this. It just gives you a 3-up invuln.
Yep. So they normally come with a Rosarius that gives them a 4+. This one's just like, this is even a better Rosarius. So you get a 3+ invuln.
Yeah. Okay. And the Emperor's Judgment. Ooh, this is long-winded. I'm going to let you take this one.
Okay, so the Master of Sanctity model, only when resolving an attack made against a model with this relic, your opponent can re-roll the hit roll, or your opponent cannot re-roll the hit roll, your opponent cannot re-roll the wound roll, and your opponent cannot re-roll the damage roll. In addition, when a morale test is taken for an enemy unit within 6 inches of this model with this relic, roll 2 dice and discard the lowest result. If both results are the same, discard either. So yeah, once again, we're talking about morale, the new edition. This could be pretty nasty as well. So you basically have, even with no fear, if you're playing against another Space Marine army or word bearers, for instance.
Yeah.
You're forcing your opponent to roll 2 dice and take the lowest. Yeah, even doing that twice can still result in a bad roll.
Yeah, the name of the game is to try to trigger combat attrition at that point. And if you got a guy that can kind of throw that out, albeit 6 inches away, I wonder, would that fall into his... no, that's litanies. Okay, it's 3 inches of litanies. I was wondering if there's a way to bump out that 6 inches now, but till we find that way, I also got to say the being able to reduce their ability to reroll for hits, wounds, damage, that's huge. That shuts down that Inari list I was talking about last week with the Harlequin sort of Death Jester assassination troop. I mean, that just right there, I can't take out your warlord as easily as I probably thought I could have.
Yeah,
with the
both
ability
of these
to reroll
relics.
A lot of those.
Yeah, both of these relics are really good at making your chaplain or your Master of Sanctity, in this case, survive longer. So he's going to be a little bit tougher to kill.
All right, well, enough about that God Emperor freak. Let's move on to one that cares more, I guess, Omasiah.
Yeah, so the Master of Forge is pretty cool. It's 1 command point, and then you get the Master of Forge keyword. And when this model repairs a model using its Blessing of the Omnisci ability, you regain up to 3 lost wounds instead of the D3.
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah, flat 3 repair. That's pretty good, especially if you're a Iron Warriors fan, or excuse me, not Iron Warriors, Iron Hands fan. I know basically this last edition, when we had Iron Warriors meta, a lot of people were taking these guys. So...
I like the charm of maybe building an army around this, because a lot of these you can still build a successor chapter, and if in your mind's eye, if the successor chapter is more led by a Forge Master, Master of the Forge as it were, the head of as the flesh meets the steel, and he guides them, and maybe they're a successor of one that benefits that or not, but you can certainly put this guy at the centerpiece, and if you're running tank heavy, you can ensure that this isn't going anywhere. I don't know, it's cool.
Yeah,
I like those options.
Yeah, and that leads into the first Warlord trait. You were saying, have this guy surrounded by a bunch of tanks. Why don't you check out that Warlord trait?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I did already check it out, but I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't mean to segue that way into it. No, that's pretty good. So when you're resolving an attack made by a friendly chapter vehicle within 6 inches of you, adding 1 to the hit roll. I mean,
Yeah.
that's insane. I mean, you're already going to hit on threes. In an 8th edition, when they move, sure, you're -1 to hit. And then in 9th edition, you're not -1 to hit.
Hmm.
And if, let's say, you get in close combat and those tanks are in close combat and they're shooting heavy weapons, and there would be -1 penalty because you're shooting heavy in close combat with a vehicle. No, I guess that's really kind of a wash here now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's add 1 to the hit roll. It's not necessarily add 1 to your ballistic skill.
Yeah, and even where that it would be kind of a wash there anyway. But just the same, I like that a lot. That's and he's throwing out heals. I mean, okay.
Yep. So I mean, yeah, Master of the Forge is pretty good. It's definitely a good synergy character. He's not necessarily going to go out and like really take on that Archon or that Gilliman or any of those really powerhouse characters. He's definitely going to be there to help buff up the rest of your army. Good space.
Yeah, he will with his master plan as unfolded by the company he's commanding. I guess below you can do Warden of the Ancients and make this one more of a guy that kind of pals around with the the old guys of the chapter, the dreadnoughts.
Yeah, that's true.
As I say, one to strength and attacks. That's awesome.
Yeah, we do have that buddy of ours, Mr. Garthakian, that's been talking about a dreadnought spam list. If only he could take this.
Yeah, he's playing Space Wolf, so he's in his own little world. His own little furry world. Oops, you know what? We should have saved that title for Saga the Furry. It'll return. He'll be pleased. I think he volunteered to actually host that one, albeit in a fur loincloth. And he wanted to set up cameras. I talked him out of that, but he was really set on at least having the props to go with the LARP. So,
man. Well, I would have been entertained if no one else.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Maybe I'll give him your number. So moving along, we have relics from the Forge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's the Mortis Machina, Master of the Forge model only with the Power Axe. So this is going to give him +3 strength, it's -3, it's D3 damage, and when resolving an attack made with this weapon against the vehicle unit, if the saving throw is failed, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to any other damage.
Now, I had a question about this. There might be an FAQ out there, but what if it doesn't get a saving throw? Is that considered a failed saving throw?
I don't know. I guess because if you are removing their armor, the -3.
Yeah. I mean, let's say for instance, I might be wrong on this, but I think an Imperial Guard like Sentinel or something, the one that doesn't have the close top, may have like a 4+ save. So right there, it's 86.
Probably, I would say if we're going with rules as written, maybe not, but rules as intended, I would say yes.
Yeah. Okay. I do like this one as paired with Warden of the Ancients.
Yeah, that's true. Like if you're going around with dreadnoughts and you're actually like moving up and trying to take control of maybe center board or even push further past that, yeah.
Oh, why the hell not? And reading this Warden of the Ancients again, it says add 1 to the strength and attack characteristics. Friendly draw. Okay. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, you're probably getting at least 2 or 3 dreadnoughts, because this is also your Redemptor dreadnoughts. I mean, they're no slouch in combat.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a lot of guns. So, I mean, 2 Stormbolters, 2 Gatling cannons, 1 heavy.
But not the stupid roller cages we learned in our last Shufflecast.
Yeah, no dreadnought keyword on those guys, which is weird, but
it's the lack of sarcophagus. I think you had a valid point. Okay, so we have the Endurant Protector.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this is Master Forge model only. Add 1 to the toughness characteristic of a model with this relic. A model with this relic also has a 4+ invuln, which is really good because Tech Marines don't have invulnerable saves.
They have a 2+4+ now. That's a hell of a thing. And they have one of their toughness, so you're looking at minus the extra wound. They gave you kind of a Primaris one. No.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've noticed. There's been, other than the character for the Iron Hands, there's no Primaris Tech Marines, are there?
Except, yeah, you're right. I think some people who have been doing only Primaris armies have been counting their not Redemptor dreadnoughts, their repulsors. You can model a Marine on the repulsor, and they paint him red, and they're like, well, that's my Master of the Forge right there. He's piloting.
Yeah, that's what he does now. He pilots tanks. What a guy.
Yep, he's great.
All right.
But yeah, until they come out with one, that's the only one they have is the character for Iron Hands.
Yep, and yeah, well, I guess we should address that. So all that said, if you already have a named character and a known chapter that fits this criteria, like I don't know if the Iron Hands guy explicitly has Master of the Forge. He might be their Master of the Forge. I don't think you can take this then. Yeah, it does say that you can't include 2 Masters of the Forge. You can't have 2 Masters of Sanctity.
Yeah,
and so on. So, sadly, if you're Ultramarines, you're kind of 86 or some of these. I think, if you really dig in there, you'll probably see a few chapters don't get access to all of them.
Yeah. Well, I think you can still field them if you don't have that other character. So, like, we've got this next guy coming up, the Chief Librarian.
Hey, it doesn't make any sense, man.
I agree with you. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, you can't take Tigurius and a Chief Librarian, but you can still take a Chief Librarian if you don't take like Tigurius.
Right. And what it effectively, let's see, they get Psychic Mastery. Oh, these are one of the Warlord traits they can take. They get Psychic Mastery. They can add one to their total. They do get additional stuff just for the command point. Look, I skipped right to the meat of it. Apologies.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so yeah, if you're a Chief Librarian, you know an additional Psychic power, and you can deny one.
Jeez. So what does that put them up to?
You can cast
2, deny 2, and then 3 from your discipline.
Yep. But if you take the High Scholar of the Librarius, then you can cast 3.
You can generate psychic powers from discipline. They can know powers from rather than no. You can know from multiple disciplines. Now, I guess I have a question for that. Who does that fit best, really? I guess other than let me preface this. It would really just be the chapters that have their own disciplines, as we've seen in the supplements. Is there a way that successor chapters can would be able to utilize that? I guess let me throw that out there.
I think you can basically say that. Like, okay, if you want to do an Ultramarine successor, I think you pay the command point. You still pick your 2 traits, but you get access to the Ultramarines stuff, except for their relics. You have to pay a command point to take a Ultramarine specific relic.
I think
so. You still get access to the stratagem and their psychic powers.
Interesting. So, but I think that one actually it does take up 2 of your chapter traits if you take from the parent chapter, doesn't it?
I don't know. I believe not. I think you basically get to pick your 2, and then you still get the super doctrine.
No, we'll look into that later. I think that's the way that works, and it's kind of unfortunate. But yeah, I was wondering about that. I guess the other way is if there's a way that the Phobos librarian does he only know from that discipline, and the normal librarian only knows from the Marine one. Okay,
you are correct. So yes, I guess you could do that. Is if you're taking a Primaris librarian, you can take from the shrouding one, basically the Phobos discipline. That would work.
All right, so what else does he have on here? So those are his 2 Warlord traits, and then he has his Relics of Librarius, the Vinculum Vitae, which is awesome. Great, I got done playing Vampire a few nights ago. Not to go off on a rant or anything, but that's my first thought. Is this like an artifact from some Zemitzi or something? Okay, or some Tremere. So he models the Force Sword only. This relic replaces the Force Sword and has a falling profile. It gives him +1 strength, -3 AP, D3 damage, resolving an attack made with this weapon. And on a modified wound roll of 6, inflicts D3 mortal wounds on the target instead of any other damage. That's not terrible. I don't personally. I'm not big on getting librarians into combat unless I'm sneaking them in with something else, and even then, I don't want to rely on them to get all the killing done.
Right, but the next one is really good.
So Neural Shroud.
Yeah. Add 12 inches to your Psychic Hood ability. That's pretty good. So it goes up to what, 36?
36. No? Yeah, I think it's already 24.
Yeah, so, I mean, getting that +1 to your deny, you're denying 2 because he's a Master of Sanctity. Or, excuse me, Master Librarius. But, yeah, that's pretty good. I would definitely take that.
I have no interest. I'm very tunnel visioned on the Black Templar, so we're gone. Where's that X? Yeah. We're going for that X
That's
now.
That's right. They don't use witches. Chief Apothecary is next. So use this stratagem before the battle. Select one Apothecary. So you get to provide medical attention to a unit. You can reroll the die to determine if a destroyed model is returned to the unit. Okay, spit that out there.
No, that's really good because that's always been kind of the crux and the catch-22, and I love the fluff behind it. But with your Apothecary, you can try to heal wounds, or you can try to bring a guy back at 1 wound. But if you fail, I believe it's a 4+. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. If you fail that, he sits there for the turn and extracts the gene seed. Right.
Right. So this gives you the ability to re-roll that, giving you a 75% chance instead of a 50.
And we looked down at his Warlord traits. And I went down too far. No, like, wait, Master Duelist. No. Father of the Future. Okay, this one is... effectively gives you a 6-up. Feel no pain within 6 inches of him, if you're the unit is. Okay.
And if you're Iron Hands, it's a 5+.
Yeah, if you have the Flesh's Weak chapter tactic, you're looking at 5+. Okay, that's interesting. I never thought I'd see a Chief Apothecary Warlord for an Iron Hand army, if I'm being 100% honest, but that seems very appealing.
Yep, that was one of the things that was really powerful about that Iron Hands meta, is that they were taking this guy, and then there was a whole complicated way that you got to cycle wounds and take multiple saves before cycling it to the next guy who got to take multiple saves. And it was gross, and it needed to be taken care of.
That's
and
funny.
Games Workshop did take care of it pretty well.
What about Selfless Healer? This is the one I would see the Chief Apothecary of whatever company Matthias Holiday of the Ultramarines comes from. I could see him being a Selfless Healer. And this one where he can provide medical attention up to 2 units instead of 1. And a unit that was provided medical attention by this warlord can be provided with medical attention for a second time in a turn by this warlord.
Nice.
And so he can do it. Yeah, he can do it even if he failed the first roll, let's say, and he's recovering the gene seed. He can try again.
Nice. I like that.
Well, when
that's very good.
You couple that with the, just the normal Chief Apothecary being able to re-roll that.
Yeah. So you're more than likely going to be able to get a guy back up and put him back on full wounds if it's a Primaris.
Yes, and that would be awesome. Or even if it's oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, or if you got one guy on 1 wound, you put him back up to full, and then bring the next guy back up on 1 wound.
Yep.
So it's pretty great. Either way, you're not kind of stuck in that situation where it's like, oh man, I wish actually that one roll hadn't been failed. That way I could bring another guy back instead of just heal the one guy to 1 wound,
right?
Full wound.
Well, hypothetically speaking, if you're running a bunch of Hellblasters and an Ancient, like this is perfect. Like,
oh yeah.
All right, boys, I want you to supercharge. Oh, you killed yourself? Cool. Did you do it in front of him? Awesome. Did you get the 4? Sweet. He's shooting at that guy now. Awesome. Next turn, you're back.
Yep.
You explain that one. I guess they're so eager not to fail. No, it's fine. I'll shake it off. Just give me a shot, Doc. I know the Ancient's watching.
It's like, oh, you blew off half your face. Well, you can still see out of the other eye, right?
Yeah, I'm a little salty. I can't do this little combo with my Dark Angels because they'd be up for it. Heartbeat.
Yep. Ooh, what you drinking?
I can't tell you on air. It's canned coffee.
Ooh.
From the Ozark Springs.
Ooh. But yeah, so now we got some relics of the Apothecarium. We have Acquittal. So now he's an apothecary and an attorney.
He had a good alibi. Yeah.
But yeah, so model with bolt pistol or absolver bolt pistol only. It replaces either of those, and it is range 16, pistol 1, strength 5, -3, 1 damage, and when resolving an attack made with this weapon against a unit that is not a vehicle or monster, this weapon has a damage characteristic of D6 for that attack. All right.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, it's equipped with Bio Aspect Scope, so, I mean, why the hell not? Let's just have that zero in on, like, a kneecap, and then you just pump shot that and maybe hit the brain. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it goes up the kneecap, through the chest cavity, and into the brain.
Well, yeah, they know that there's some sort of, like, some sort of aneurysm. They hit the right, artery, and they bleed out.
That's right. Well, that's what they said about Civil War ammunition, right? When they were the round spherical bullets, they were way worse than the more common day.
Nah, good luck digging it out. You just hack off the limb.
Well, actually, it would hit the bone and it would roll up.
Oh yeah, ricochet basically. Yep.
Pop out your shoulder, so it basically destroyed the entire arm instead of shattering the bone.
Well, enough of living in that past. Jeez, we'll live in this one. We have Healer's Aegis.
Yep. So infantry models have a 5+ invuln save while they're within 1 inch of a model relic. Okay.
Yeah, I mean 1 inch. So he has a 5+ invuln, and so does anybody else that's nuts to butts with him.
Yep.
That's infantry.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're like, okay, I'm gonna have this guy tag along with a group of 6 centurions. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's not bad. That's not bad. That's actually a good point.
I was gonna say, like, if you had to pick one unit, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna back this unit. So it's gonna be 6 centurions with las cannons and missile launchers.
I think against my better judgment, I think I still take Acquittal.
Yeah, I mean. You would, but
I've never been good about my better judgment. Okay, that's why I play Chaos. So
that's right.
We got the chapter ancient. Speaking about the glory hound with the banner.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I like this guy a lot. I definitely see people doing this more often than just taking the regular guy. So for a command point, you go, okay, this guy has now got a range of 9 inches instead of 6. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty good considering what they can normally do. Now, I want to kind of talk about the sentiment of this and the opportunities for fluff. You know, I know
Okay.
as we have the Primaris, whether it be the Gray Shields that are coming in, or those that are recruited from the the recruitment worlds of the chapter in which they call home or dad or whatever they call brother. I always like the juxtaposition between them and how they're supposedly getting along or not getting along with the normal Marines. You know, the old school Adeptus Astartes. And to think that a ancient that's a Primaris inherits the sacred duty of holding up a banner that's older than any of the guys, whether they be Primaris or even the freaking chapter master that's around currently.
Yeah.
You know, heck, it could even be older than the chapter itself if we're talking successor.
That's a good point.
You know, and then the kind of respect everybody would get. You know, it kind of reminds me when you get to it, Prospero Burns and some of the Dan Abnett book from Horus Heresy and some of the story of Ibn Sword and how he gains sort of trust and respect and recognition among the brother Space Wolves despite only being a human and being a scholar at that.
That is very cool.
Yeah, so I see a lot of opportunity for fluff in that.
Yeah, and like you said, when Gilman's taken around, this is at the beginning of the Indominus Crusade, and he's got thousands upon thousands of Primaris Marines that are all from these different, gene seed origins, and he's just like, okay, we're going on the Crusade, and I'm either gonna give you guys to your parent chapters, or if I so decide that this area needs to be fortified, I'm just going to create a chapter on the spot. You guys are going to stay here, and this is your job from now on.
Yep.
And if they're a Gray Shield like successor chapter, and they get the honor of having this banner, like you said, that's who knows how old it is.
Yeah.
The chapter is just now founded. It's obviously older than the chapter master.
Well, heck, yeah. I mean, maybe you just stumbled on you could build that might be the Chevelis chapter if we build an all Primaris one day. That might be it. That might be the foundation of their chapter was them as a Gray Shield operating during the beginning of the Indominus Crusade under Guilliman's orders to go and recover an artifact lost to whatever chapter. We can come up with that, or it could be told at a later date. It'd probably be befitting to what their successor traits are, because maybe they would model themselves after that and adapt to that fighting style.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And so the whole chapter centers around he who holds the ancient bear. I mean, there might be characters that are more badass than him, but he is the most important model on the table as far as the chapter that's fighting is concerned.
Yeah, everybody looks to him, and he even looks to the banner. It's like, I'm just as new to this as you guys, so this is a representation of more than us.
Yeah. There could be like an arete and an animism that's sort of channeled between him and maybe the sentiment of who held the banner last or what it stood for until it was lost then recovered again, and it's fun. You can have fun with some transform. Anyway, not to get too down that road. We didn't even got on the warlord traits yet, so we've got singular presence. This one effectively gives friendly chapter infantry, biker, and dreadnought units within 3 inches of this warlord the ability to perform heroic interventions as if they were characters. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that would actually kind of fit that fluff you were just talking about, because it's like, okay, we fight as a unit where it's not just my duty to protect the banner because it's so important. It's all of ours.
All of ours, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So if somebody gets past one of us, it's our duty to kind of just squash it. But yeah, so we also have a steadfast example. So friendly infantry units have the Defenders of Humanity ability whilst within 3 inches of this warlord, which is the Space Marine control objective.
Your troops ability. Yeah, okay.
Right. Yep, but this gives it to all infantry.
Interesting.
Yeah, so now you're looking at Terminators or Centurions, or actually Centurions aren't infantry. Anyways, but yeah, and then if such a unit already has this ability, each model counts as one additional model when determining control of an objective marker.
That's not bad. I see that more fitting to an Ultramarine scenario. I guess any Marine scenario, but they're all the spiritual liege or whatever.
Yep. But yeah, and then it also gives you a couple of banners that are relics. So we have Standard of the Righteous Hand, or excuse me, Righteous Hatred, not Righteous Hand. Models that shoot with one of their ranged weapons or make a single attack with one of their melee weapons as a result of this model's Astartes banner ability always resolve their attack as if they had a ballistic skill or weapon skill characteristic of 2+.
I like that a lot. I mean, I know that is kind of the combo of it. Now you have a bigger bubble to do that with, being at 9 inches. And is it, you'll have to keep me honest. We can always spot check. I've got the book here, but I'm a little lazy. Is it a 3+ or a 4+ that ability goes off on?
So the ability goes off on a 4+.
Okay.
It used to be if you took the relic, it would go off on a 3+, the standard of
That's
the Emperor
right.
Ascendant, but it got nerfed, so it's only a 4+ as well.
I like the ballistic skill aspect of it. It's nice if you wanted to do something in the ballpark of, you know, having your Hellblasters or anything that you're risking could die on their own, get shots off, and then potentially get another shot off. That's just kind of fun.
Yep, I agree.
Next up, to be honest with you, it's underwhelming for me right now, only in that I know what's to come later when we get to the children of the Emperor himself. So when we get to the furry part,
yeah. But yeah, so Pennant of the Fallen is the next one. This one's pretty cool.
Heresy. Go ahead.
The Pennant of the Fallen, models that attack with one of their melee weapons as a result of this model's Astartes banner ability can make 2 attacks instead of 1.
That's awesome. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's just cool because normally it's an easy decision. Your guy dies. Okay, I'm gonna make a shooting attack every time because more often than not they've got a rapid fire weapon or some really good gun, and otherwise they'd be just making one swing with a strength 4 AP nothing 1 damage.
Well, actually, I think it goes beyond that. I think explicitly as it's written and intended is that if you're not eligible to make a ranged attack, like your bolter, for instance, can't shoot when it's that close, so you can only be able to use your pistol if you died and you were in melee. Yeah. So this actually is one of those that if you know you're going to get up close and that guy's up there in the heat of it, you're going to be able to get 2 attacks off instead of the typical 1. If you have an army that can do that. Or no, I guess he just makes 2 anyway. Wow, that's even...
Yeah, no, yeah, it's just 2 attacks.
Cool,
so it's like, yeah, like we'll have some other dudes later on that can make 1 attack, but now they can make 2 if they die.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Chapter Ancient, I think, is something that's really cool. Just in general, kind of looking back, like, we definitely have a lot of potential there.
Yeah, it's a cool, not only a cool character, but yeah, it's got some cool fluff potential. And all these really do. I mean, to throw that out there, as we talk about the chaplain or the librarian, all these guys, if you have Primaris, they can inherit something or have a mantle passed upon them or shoes to fill, or really just subverting the whole old guard of the Imperium, as it were, and sort of, you know, unrolling Guilliman's, you know, New World Order.
Yeah. But unfortunately, this next one kind of excludes Primaris because there are no Primaris chapter champions currently.
Not yet, exactly. I'm wondering if we're going to see that with the 9th edition releases.
Yeah,
if those new characters are going to count as champions.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that new Judiseer, is that how you pronounce it? I can't remember. Anyways, if he maybe counts as a chapter champion.
It's Judisaur.
It's Judisaur.
Judisaur. Go ahead.
It's not Judiseer, it's Judisaur. Anyways, so yeah, when you spend a command point to upgrade your company champion to a chapter champion, your attacks and leadership are increased by 1, and it gains the chapter champion keyword and the following ability: Skillful Parry. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon against this model, subtract 1 from the hit roll. That's pretty good.
I like it. A lot of these guys, I think you can give storm shields or combat shields to already.
Mm-hmm. Yep, chapter champions automatically come, or excuse me, company champions automatically come with a shield.
Cool.
Gives them a 5+ invuln.
Okay, and yeah, and if you want to make this guy your warlord, this is an interesting choice. I'm trying to think of a situation where that would be. I guess if you're playing Crusade, 9th edition, and maybe your smaller point game that's the chapter champion leads a small contingency, or it is one of those where, you know, he's determined to eliminate, you know, that HQ on the other side, and so he's been given the role of the warlord. But I guess with that, we have a couple of options for warlord traits.
Yeah, well, and don't forget you can also spend a command point to give an additional model, right, with Space Marines.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, if you have your warlord and you go, well, I just want to make my chapter champion really badass.
That's such a game changer I didn't even consider. That's awesome.
Yep. It's pretty cool. But yeah, Master Duelist is a great warlord trait. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon against the warlord, on a hit roll of 1, roll 1d6. And on a 4+, the model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound after the unit has finished shooting or fighting. So yeah.
That's weird. Why does it say shooting?
Because
you're hitting with melee weapons for it to trigger. You know what? I guess going back, if you have an ancient that goes off and you're like, you know what, I'm going to shoot you with my bolt pistol.
Yeah.
When I die, I guess I don't know that. Yeah, I guess maybe that's why they make that in there. Okay, that's interesting. Otherwise,
yeah.
You have Martial Exemplar while Cyprian coughs up his dinner. When a charge roll is made for a friendly chapter unit within 6 inches of Warlord, you can re-roll the charge.
Yeah. So that's great. Like, being able to re-roll your charge roll is really great. I mean, in the next edition, we know that basically close combat is going to be way more important. And so I guess even more so in this edition, being able to do that is like more impactful. Getting your units into combat, tying up your opponent if they're not melee oriented.
Yeah.
And yeah, if yours is, great, because that means your chapter champion is going to be re-rolling it, and then everything else within 6 inches of them is also going.
Yeah, you I guess the goal is you send them in first, and then have him roll on in.
Mm-hmm.
Get those rerolls first on those other units, and when he goes in there, you can give him the Blade of Triumph as a relic. This one's not too bad. I mean, it's a 3 damage power sword that gives you +2 to your strength, and it's -4 AP. I mean, you're looking at strength 6, 86 in Marine armor saves, and outright killing Primaris and doing 3 damage to everything else.
Yeah, that's killing characters on 2 wounds. Like, so yeah, if you get 2 of those through, it's killing a character. I forget what. I think a chapter champion has 4 base attacks, so 5 when he becomes the chapter champion.
Yeah, and I understand that he also gets rerolls to wounds against characters. I believe it's something like that.
Yep. He so yeah, he can definitely be a character killer. You could definitely give him a warlord trait and give him a relic for a couple command points if you don't want him to be, the only guy with a relic on the table. So he can definitely go in there, chop up some infantry or kill a character.
And I mean, if you're happy with the Mastercrafted Power Sword, I don't think there's a lot you can do to change that out. Maybe they change that. I'm going off my old Dark Angels book, but you can instead go with the Angel Artifice. At that point, you're getting a 2+ save on him and a 4 invul, and that's not too bad either if you want him to stick around and really be there for a lot of the game. But I'm happy with most Marine saves and having a fun little harassment, because at the end of the day, I don't think the chapter champion is all that expensive.
No,
it's
I want
the
to say
command
he's
points
like 45 points.
Yeah, it's buffing them up with the command point. You got to keep that in mind. You're going to be spending that, but
yeah,
no, it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, this is definitely another thing where it's if you're doing a crusade game or you're just having some fun with a narrative campaign,
right?
Having a company champion be a unique character for your guys, then yeah, why not spend some command points, have some fun, make this guy really kick ass.
Okay, this brings us next to my first long-winded point.
Uh-oh.
Of many.
Right.
No, yeah, the Black Templar, they got some addressing in this. They were kind of neglected out of the Space Marine book, and we thought we might see them in the Imperial Fist supplement, but alas, they did not arrive there, although the Crimson Fists, I believe, were.
Yes, they were. They got all their White Dwarf stuff put in that book, essentially.
Yeah, but we're not really here to talk about them. Forget those guys. They're too close to the Imperial Fist, I guess, to be lumped into the same book. So these guys, they get their own little spread, and to their credit, they do show up, I think, partially in the story. Certainly not as prevalent in this book as the Sisters of Battle, to whom there are no stats or anything in here, but whatever. But yeah. Real quick, so I want to go ahead and show what we had for the Black Templar before going into this. So as a chapter tactic, which is to say that if you have a Space Marine detachment, an army that is all the same chapter, all these guys will get this rule. And when you roll a charge roll for a unit with this tactic, you can re-roll any of the dice of the charge. Just pretty awesome. That phrasing, which they may change going forward just to keep it clean for everybody. But that phrasing right now is important because there's some that says re-roll the dice. This is any or all, so you can kind of pick. You get a 6 and a 1, then you can re-roll that 1. But in addition to this, when a model with this tactic loses a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll 1d6. On a 5+, that wound is not lost.
Yep.
I like that. I like the righteous zeal, the idea that their faith and their holy relics and the tabards and the purity seals, all their devotion sort of protects them. And it's not just, in the old edition or in the old Marine book, it was just infantry, bikers, dreadnoughts. Now it's everything.
So your vehicles and your lane speeders, bikers, all this good stuff is going to be extra durable against the witch.
Our boy Potter out there definitely has his fair share of relics strung about on his predators. I saw in the Land Raider Crusader, and so when I was looking at that, I always thought that was fun flavored, but to know that they kind of have that represented in a way, it's like, oh, that's why I have a 5+ feel no pain on this vehicle against mortal wounds. So sad for that, guy that just shot me with smite if I roll well.
Yeah. And it could be a game changer too, especially if you're playing against a sacred heavy armor army
For sure.
like Grey Knights or Thousand Suns that really depend on those mortal wounds getting output.
Right.
So, yeah.
You'll have to bear with me now as I flip through this. Anybody with prone to seizures, please avert your eyes. I'm looking for the actual doctrines. Did I pass those? I'm guessing I did. I want to review that real quick before we go into the Psychic Awakening. Okay, here we go. So, go ahead. You probably explain these better than me because you've actually played with them.
So doctrines. The doctrines are as such. During the first turn, you get +1 to your, an additional AP on heavy and grenade weapons, and then during the second through third turn, you have the option to have an additional AP on rapid fire and assault weapons, and during the third or fourth turn, as you so choose, you get additional AP on your melee weapons and
pistols. Okay. And as I understand it, as they came out with the supplemental books for the different chapters, the Codex Astartes chapters, we'll call them, that go along with this codex, they kind of have an additional ability baked in on top of one of those doctrines.
Correct. Often referred to as their super doctrine.
Okay, I'll take that. Turbo doctrine.
Exactly.
So the turbo doctrine for these cats are pretty cool. Keeping in mind they get that reroll to charge, as we kind of pointed out the chapter tactic. You get -1 AP on your pistols and close combat weapons. I mean, if you're like me, and we'll get into some of this with your Crusader squads, I like the idea of chainswords and combat knives and just having a high volume of attacks. The AP's nice, and let's see why. I got really excited with that, sorry.
It's okay.
Knights of Sigismund. Ooh, I love it already. All right, while the Assault Doctrine is active, the Assault Doctrine is active, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by Black Templars model with this ability against a unit that is not a vehicle, in a turn in which they performed a charge or heroic intervention, any unmodified roll of a hit automatically scores a hit and successfully wounds the target. Do not make a wound roll.
Nice. That's awesome.
It is. If you're looking at a high volume of attack with Marines, the biggest complaint is, okay, great, I'm hitting on 3s. I've got strength 4. I still got a wound. Okay, it's. I feel really bad complaining on behalf of Marine players in this case, but if you want, they're not wrong. You look at the Blood Angels, which we actually, here's a plug. Next Psychic Awakening, we'll be talking about them. We'll give them a dress down there and back again. But if you're looking to have that extra push to ensure that your Alpha Strike with your close combat army actually gets through, say like other armies that have Alpha Strike close combat units, then this really helps with that. Albeit you got to time it. Like you said, third or fourth turn. That's when you want to be making your charges.
Yep. And Mr. Potter is listening. He has joined us.
Oh, cool.
So he's all ears. You've joined at the right time. We are just now getting into the Zealous Crusaders themselves.
And let it be known, the Lost Librarians. Librarian units cannot be from the Black Templars chapter. Perfect. In fact, that rule should be they can't ally with them, period. But I guess they kind of kept that in there in case there's some asshole Inquisitor that asserts his will, or they're there with the only Psychers they really like being around, which are the Grey Knights.
Yeah. But yeah.
And chosen champion, we also know that we cannot select a champion. They already have one. They have the original gangster freaking chapter champion. I think all other chapter champions take note from this guy, save for maybe the Dark Angel one, and I'm just saying that because I'm biased.
Yeah, what is he called? The Emperor's Champion. Yes, he's awesome. He's got that black sword. Is that made from Blackstone? Do we know?
I'm not. It's an artifact of some kind. That would be an interesting take. I've often wondered, kind of going back with the revisionist eye, as the Blackstone. I think, although it may have been mentioned, like Rogue Trader or something, is now being revisited heavily. If things like that sword or the Heaven's Fall blades that the Dark Angels wield, that are like notoriously awesome for banishing the traitor or the demon or whatever, if they are not made from the same. Or there's even a bit of notion, as we're on the topic of Dark Angels, sorry Potter, that Caliban had deposits of that, and when it blew up, That's effectively the rock floating around. I don't know how much of that would be, but a lot of what the Dark Angels have forged the Heaven's Fall blades from were from the asteroid pieces of the rock, or from Caliban.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. But yeah, so just with having talked about the Knights of Sigismund, the fact that they can't use librarians, and the Chosen Champion, we've pretty much established what type of army Black Templars are going to be, right? They're definitely not going to be a sit back and shoot type of army.
Oh, excuse me. They can be, and I have ideas on that. And like I said, we'll kind of get into a list, but you're not wrong. They like to get in close for their killing. You know, they want to ensure that the witch has met its end, or anybody to whom that they have taken up a crusade against, because that's another thing that they really enjoy doing. It's sort of their army's purpose, as Sigismund, I think, famously said in Horus Rising, the notion of there will always be banners to fight wars under. You know, that kind of sentiment. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. And it's interesting to see that. In fact, as we were talking about that ancient, that character, that might be the Primaris. You know, maybe he has a crusading banner that dates all the way back to when the original Emperor's champion, Sigismund himself, had said, okay, we are now the first, I think, by the way, the first successor chapter.
Yeah, I think so. One of.
Yeah, you know, maybe it commemorated that. Or you could have it tied to, you know, different points in history or whatever. You could have it tied to your sisters. And when they became
that would be
thing.
cool.
Yeah, because I know that they had a hand in helping with that. But suffice to say, they'd enjoy their crusades. And if you were a Primaris, and in this case, the ancient banner would probably be the Crusade banner. Yeah, that would be a huge undertaking and huge honor, and something you certainly wouldn't want to f up.
Yeah.
So for this army, though, so let's pretend like that's our warlord. And I love that idea. We're going to take a couple special characters. I do want the High Marshal in there.
Okay.
So that guy gives your guys friendly Black Templar models within 6 inches of them get +1 strength.
Yep, that's pretty huge. We've already kind of established that, you know, getting volume of attacks is going to be something that Black Templar are going to want.
Yes.
And the fact that now your volume is going to be higher, you know, the base toughness of most models.
Well, yeah, and the turn in which that you would want to be triggering your assault doctrine, you're kind of chasing. You have 2 bases covered. Some folks might look at the 2 rules and say, okay, that's redundant. Why do I care that I have -1? This actually, no, I shouldn't say it's redundant. The +1 strength, the auto wounding on 6 might be redundant, but I like the comfort, the buffer, right? If I don't get that 6 while I'm hitting,
you're still wounding on 3s.
Yeah, or better yet, I'm not wounding on 6s against, you know, like a freaking knight or something, you know.
Yeah, you're only wounded on 5s, which is, you know, like you said, that's a nice little buffer. It's a nice little comfort that you know you're not going to be like beating your head against the wall.
Yeah. Now, speaking of beating your head against the wall, anybody that's reading the other abilities that the High Marshal has, you see Chapter Master, and yes, we understand. That's just even more of that buffer when you get around to the Assault Doctrine, and leading up to it too. If you're anything shooting, this isn't just close combat. You're rerolling all, you know, hit rolls. Does it say just reroll hit rolls? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yep. It's not fail. It's just reroll hit rolls. And so modifiers don't matter.
Yes, and that's important because those rerolls are always gonna, you know, you're gonna look at a modifier, and if you would have naturally hit on a 3, it's not usually eligible for reroll because it didn't technically count as a fail until the modifier hits. So in this case, it don't matter. Even more to the point, you could still hit and go, you know what? I want to chase some 6s because, you know, I have poor judgment and I play chaos and my name is Fu Manyu, and for whatever reason I'm playing the we're gonna chase those 6s. So.
That's right.
All right.
Because you want to get those automatic wounds just because, yeah.
Automatic wounds at -1 AP, why not? Okay, so as much as I'd like to take the Emperor's Champion, we can. That's right. The Ancient is an elite. So I'm just keeping this to a battalion, just in this hypothetical list.
Yeah, sure.
I do want the Emperor's Champion, as he is the Slayer of Champions. When resolving an attack against a character with a melee weapon, he can reroll the hit roll. Okay, so he can just do that himself. That's great.
And he's also fighting for Sigismund's honor, so he's got +1 to his strength and attacks characteristic while within an inch of an enemy characters.
Wow, so if he's within the range of the High Marshal, he's already at 6. When he's got the Black Sword, now he's at 8.
Yep, so he's swinging with a sword that's kind of like a power fist.
And that sword is what allows him to reroll wound rolls against characters or monsters. Okay.
Yeah.
We also see they give him the skillful parry, so you're -1 to hit him. That's all around a good character. And wow, he has a couple of these artifacts kind of baked into him. Relics, artifacts.
Yep. It's got a 2+ armor stave and a 4+ invuln already.
I told you, he's original gangster. You know,
yeah.
The day they make him a Primaris, I'll cry. No.
Yeah, which, you know, you never know. They
Yeah,
might
you
not.
never
They
know.
might. But yeah, he's pretty great. He's got 5 base attacks, 4 wounds. I mean, he's not that expensive either, if I remember correctly. I mean, we'll
No,
get
he's
points
not.
later, but yeah, he's just awesome.
You got
Great little.
Captain Grimaldus. I love this character. I know Potter, as you mentioned, he's listening. Hell's
Yep.
Reach is such a cool story, and you get to like the Black Templar a lot for the characters, which really allows you to grow to appreciate some of the what I love in
Mm-hmm.
history about them: the Crusader aspect, the Holy Roman Empire, the Charlemagne kind of feel. I love that about them, and that is definitely represented there. But not to get too wrapped up on that. Grimaldus is awesome and on the tabletop. He already is a chaplain, so he's going to know some litanies of hate, and I believe he can recite two.
Yep. He is a like you said, he's a master of sanctity. Basically, he's got the
Yeah,
keyword already. He knows an additional. He can cast an additional. So, and he gets the additional ones from being a Black Templar specifically.
the
But
litanies
the
of
cool,
devout. Okay, devout. Yeah, all right.
yeah, and what I really like about Chaplain Grimaldus is the little film that we watched. What was
Yes,
it called again?
Richard Bolin. Yeah, yeah. It's Hell's
Yeah,
Reach.
plug in for him. He's awesome. Um,
Yeah, we'll be seeing
uh,
as Angels of Death coming out soon.
yes, they've released the audio for it already, or excuse me, the soundtrack.
Cool. Let's check
And
that out.
but I wasn't that familiar with Grimaldus beforehand. But after watching that, I can't imagine a single 40k player that wouldn't want to play Black Templars after watching that.
And just have him on the table. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, he's
I
got three
mean,
attacks. He's like all the other
so cool.
chaplains. That is kind of a mer. But with that said, you can throw him in there with all these other guys and really just spike that up. Like it.
Yeah, I mean, and he's going to be doing what he does the best. So he's not necessarily going to be the guy you want to go toe to toe with that, that Swarm Lord or that Hive Tyrant. He's going to be the guy that's like, okay, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're going to do even better now, and yeah, I can take 6 wounds off of something too.
Now this is what makes him great for this. We almost passed over, or maybe you were waiting. Catch me. Unmatched zeal.
Yep.
When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model and a friendly Black Templar unit within 6 inches of this model, Grimaldus, on an unmodified hit roll of 6, which we already know does something in the Assault Doctrine phase, you can make an additional attack against the same target using the same weapon. They cannot generate additional attacks. Now, as I understand it, in the way they've ruled the FAQ, you're effectively getting on an unmodified 6 roll, a single attack would generate 2 wounds.
Yes, you are correct.
So that's not to
Because
say that you would get an additional attack. That one gets a wound. You have to roll another one. No, it's
yep,
the first one
those two
triggers.
abilities stack, and it's considered two. Basically, yeah. So if you roll an unmodified hit roll of 6, it counts as 2 unmodified 6s, which cause 2 wounds.
Yeah,
Yep, it's great.
it's
Same
great.
thing stacks with Imperial Fist, their bolter stuff. Yeah, it's great.
We've
So
highlighted
now
the
you're.
Empress Champion in blue. Okay.
Yep.
And the Cenobite servitor, Cinnabon servitors, that's what I want to call them. The Cenobite servitors, I like these guys too. They can carry some relics. They have the relic of Hell's Reach, believe it or not. They're feeling really
Oh,
inspired.
and we forgot one thing.
Oh, did we?
Grimaldus can deny is psychic powered.
Oh, yes, he can. Wow. I did actually. That is something you did catch me. I did overlook that, mostly because there's so much more coming up that really gives you that ability. It's sorry, I'm kind of tripping over my own words thinking about it because there is a lot, and I'm very excited to see that because the whole point of Psychic Awakening is you have a lot of armies that are becoming better adept at using their psychic powers or fielding more psychers, or in this case, like we've seen some other ones, being able to combat the psyker. And this isn't just in a defensive case; they like to shut them down and then destroy them, but. Okay, yeah, and right, down here, if you take the servitors with them, they effectively give a 4-up against mortal wounds instead of your 6+. And I think you can use you get leadership characteristic of 9 within 6 inches of it. Okay, that's what they get. All right.
Yeah.
All right, that's not
Sister
bad.
Pot was talking about how basically Grimaldus and Hell's Reach, it's like even at 200 years, he's very much naive to his purpose, and the Hell's Reach is that perfect growing period for him. I was like, yes, it's exactly it. Especially when he finds out where he has that moment where he knows exactly what his purpose is. When he's just sitting there listening to everybody make their battle plans for days. Finally, he's just like, what am I doing? I need to be part of this. This is my job.
Yeah, he kind of gets over the fact that the High Marshal's like, no, I want you there. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
And then eventually, I liked how you're not wrong. He walks in there with sort of that Sigismund or Dorn-like hubris and entitlement to sort of commanding over it, but there is a sense of boredom. And he's not as diplomatic as he could be, but that could also just be kind of the hubris that are the Black Templar. And I like seeing that acted out for sure in the Richard Bolin stuff. But by the end of it, you're not wrong. He understands that, like, F the politics of this. We need this done. We get the precepts, and we go. Like, we get the gun, and we go. And it was great. Another story where I learned to love the Ancient, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I forgot that he was in there. I was just thinking about the Ultramarines movie too, where it had the Ancient in there. Sorry, no, this is a rabbit trail, but the Ancient in that little flick was very important too.
As was the chaplain.
Yeah, but yeah. So now we are on to one of the what is it? The litanies.
Yeah, we have litanies and we have a Crusader squad. So the Crusader squad is a troop choice that they gave the Black Templar, and you can effectively have. So in the Black Templar, they don't really have a traditional 10th company. In fact, I think they have. This is pre-Great Rift. Their numbers may have swollen or been decreased, or both. But they had somewhere in the ballpark of like 5,000 Marines or more because of all the Crusades. And who the heck's going to try to police these guys if they're just doing the Emperor's work anyway?
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong. The way the Codex Astartes reads is that you're only allowed to have 1,000 Marines in your chapter unless you're on a crusade. So they go, well, okay, we're just going to go on the Eternal Crusade then.
You got it. And with that, they're always recruiting. So they're scouts. They are the neophytes. It's almost like a squire is to a knight, but you're still an Astartes, so it's not to shortchange it. But I'm sure even as you're growing into, in fact, I think they can make scouts. At least the old lore, they used to be able to make scouts out of people that were already fully grown. You know, but they lack some of the other components of the gene seed. But that said, I could see it taking on a squire role on the tabletop. They are effectively scouts, minus the ability to take camo cloaks or sniper rifles or any heavy weapons. You basically get your bolt gun option, your starter shotgun option, or a combat knife with a bolt pistol.
Cool.
And I like the latter because in the squad you can effectively have. I think you pointed out to me you actually end up having what 9 initiates and 1 sword brethren.
Yes.
But effectively you'd have 10 initiates. One of them is the sergeant of them. And he is, they're all in power armor, and they would have their neophytes with them, and they'd all be in their carapace, and they're a crusading squad. And you can arm these guys all as close combat. It's insane.
Yeah, so you can, at minimum, like if you didn't want to spend any points, but you wanted to load them all up, they could all have chain swords or combat knives. So then they're all having 2 base attacks, getting that 3rd on the charge. It's just crazy. Yeah, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to throw some special weapons too.
Yeah, and you want to throw even more sort of awesomeness in there. You go back and look at the characters. You rewind and listen to what we just reviewed about Grimaldus, the Emperor's champion. And that is a nice support, but really the High Marshal, God forbid, God Emperor, bless that you take the Ancient we were discussing earlier, and you're getting those 2 attacks when they die, or anything there in between. It's great. It's good stuff. And I believe you can. Let me read this real quick just to make sure I don't speak. You can. The way I wanted to outfit it, you basically have your sword brethren that would have like a power sword, and then 2 other initiates that would roll that way as well.
Yes.
Power axe, power fist, power maul. So you could make a close combat heavy, but if you're looking to save points, and who cares about the higher strength or even the AP per se, you just want to go for the higher attacks to net your chances to get the auto wounds with the 6s up to hit. Do it. Like, that's what I would go, especially if you have the High Marshal there.
Yeah, exactly. They're all base strength 5 at that point now.
Yeah.
So
rerolling those failed hits. Yep.
Yeah. But that's really cool. So you can basically rock squads of 20.
Yes, and the idea is to take like 2 20-man squads of that. Maybe bare bones it, because I would like to have. When I say bare bones, I mean, barring the sword brother, which we'll get to later, everybody else would just have a combat knife and a chainsword with their respective bolt pistols. And behind them, providing covering fire, would be Primaris Intercessors.
Okay.
I haven't decided what type of auto bolt or assault bolt or whatever, or sniper bolts, right?
Yeah. Basically, you got your rapid fire 2, your assault 3, or your heavy 1.
Yeah. And they all can be very devastating. Okay, speaking of devastating... litanies of the devout. These aren't too bad. To be honest, I got so wrapped up in all the anti-psyker stuff that as I was looking at this, I had to sort of play catch up. To you, Cyprian, which one of these sticks out? I guess we kind of get two. Ooh, I never mind. I see which one sticks out.
Okay, go for it.
Number 4.
Yep. Okay, I was just reading that one. Yeah. So it's a unit buff, right?
Yes, any unit within 6 inches of this model. And for those of you that haven't used priests yet, my understanding is at the top of the battle round. Yeah, so battle round 1, battle round 2, and so on. Both players basically say, my priests are doing X prayer, and they roll. And then it kind of is in play, because some of them they could go off in either phase. But in this case, if the unit made a charge or performs heroic interventions, yeah, that could go off in either turn, player turn or your turn. You add one of the attack characteristics to the model of that unit until the end of the turn.
Yep, there we go. And that just stacks with everything that we've been saying, basically trying to get as many attacks per model squeezed out of your, whole army.
Yeah, we'll dig this. Just looking at the Initiate and Neophyte profile, we know that they have combat knives and chain swords. They're getting additional attacks. That's 2 attacks a guy right there. They charge. That's 3 attacks. They're also Space Marines, so if they're charging, they're getting that 4th attack.
Yep, so you're looking at 4 attacks a guy, 41 with your sword brethren, and that's like all exploding on 6s. Well, not exploding, but getting the auto wounds on 6s.
And it's definitely something you set up for. But if you can pull it off, it pays off. That's kind of this is what that book this edition, I think, the supplement allows for.
Yep, and that goes off if you're charged too. So maybe you don't quite get there, but if they charge you, you're still getting that 4 attacks.
Yeah. Well, in this case, no. The Fires of Devotion is they have to make a charge or perform a heroic intervention.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Now, if we were rolling with the Ancient that allows infantry units to do that, then you're absolutely right. There's 2 triggers. Okay. Yeah, Oath of Glory is pretty good too. That allows them to strike first in the combat phase. That's nice if you have a lot of stuff locked up. You're like, cool, I'm just going to fire off this prayer in my opponent's turn.
Yeah. That's pretty nice.
Great.
So I guess another one would be Litany of Divine Protection. It's a 5+ feel no pain.
Yeah, that's not just against mortal wounds. That's against any... Yeah, that's not bad.
Yep. I mean, if you're looking to basically make the big 20-man blobs more...
For sure. And there's a couple stratagems from the main book that can do that too, where they're only getting wounded on natural wound as a 4+.
Yes, transhuman physiology.
Yeah, it's nasty. I like that a lot. Okay. So as we continue slowly along, we got a few warlord traits, and frankly, as I was looking through, I almost wanted to take the ancient ones that were there up above. But the the epitome of piety, I loved a lot. This is great. You can deny witch, and you can add 1 to the total. So you have another floater out there. So if you have that ancient in addition to Grimaldus, you have 2 characters that can actively deny the witch on the tabletop.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that they seem to have a lot baked in is ability to actually combat psychic armies without having any psychers of their own. So being able to ignore mortal wounds damage on 5+ just as a baked in chapter tactic, and then also warlord trait that can just go nah. So yeah.
Of course, frontline commander isn't bad either. Having the ability to have 1 of your advance or charge, they always talk about and when in doubt, you can kind of slap that on there. But
oh yeah, I mean, if you're wanting to do a close combat army, having the +1 to your advance or charge rolls is always a nice little guaranteed thing. Like, okay, I've always got this one I can fall back on because always going to be handy with close combat army.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like if you're a close combat army and you don't have access to something like that, you're kind of starting on the back foot. Unless you have something like Warp Time, which allows you to move twice.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, having a reroll to charge is nice. You can kind of bank on, going that extra mile, the miracle mile when you do get the ability to charge. But, having the ability to add 1 to that as well. I mean, still got to be 12 out to declare it, but, you got a little padding there. Well, that brings us to stratagems, and this is where I get really excited about this army. Right at the top, this one I think was pulled from the previous Marine Codex, but we didn't see it wind up in the new one, so it's here. Bore the Witch, and this is by the namesake. You're really fitting with the Black Templar. what I love about this, it's any Black Templar unit from your army that after an enemy psyker casts a spell, you spend this command point. If they're within 24 inches of it on a 4+, that psychic power is resisted. Gone.
Yep, just on a die roll of a 4+.
And
It's nothing like that. I mean,
it's any unit. It could be your Storm Talon or whatever that you flew up the board to harass them, and their enemy psyker wants to get off that warp time to, front steam line that demon engine in and ensure it gets the charge off before your Crusader squad does. And you go, nope.
Yep.
Denied. And then we have Crusader relics. Yep. They do maintain a vast armory of blessed weapons and sacred artifacts. So in this case, any model from your army that has the sergeant or sword brother in their profile, so that could include some Primaris as well, and that's where you get dumb. You can give them one of the following chapter relics, and we'll get to these in a second. But just for memory's sake, it's the Witch Seeker bolts, Sword of Judgment, and Skull of, I don't know, what do you call that? Caco Dominus.
Keiko Dominus, Kakeo.
Cocoa Puff Dominus. All right. So all the relics in your army must be different, and it must be different to give them different models. So this one doesn't have any restrictions. You can effectively spend one command point 3 times, give 3 different guys unique relics. At least one set of, you can get one of each of these out there. I like that. We'll get to those, what they do here in a few.
Let's see.
Ooh, Devout Push is good. You can pile in and consolidate up to 6 inches instead of 3.
Yeah.
And that 20-man blob. Whew.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I got through that unit. Now I want to consolidate 6 inches towards my opponent's board edge even further. That's nothing to slouch at. Like, as we'll be able to see with some characters later on in the Space Wolves supplement. That can be pretty nasty if you combine it with certain things.
Yes, for sure. I mean, because in this instance, you have it to where, I'm playing through all the different things from the chapel we were looking at, and yep. Okay, yep. Tenacious Assault isn't too bad either.
Yep, being able to tie up a unit, not let them fall back.
It's on a 2+. That's awesome. I mean, it is 2 command points, but if you can get that block in there, or I mean, barring a flyer, of course, in this case, you get something else in the combat, like your Assault Marines, and you just keep them there while the Crusader squad rolls on up and prepares for the rip and tear murder onslaught that is to come. And that can be easily done with the Emperor's will.
Well, and Tenacious Assault, the caveat is that it's enemy infantry, so it's not going to be that guard tank line that you kind of tagged so that they can't shoot.
That's true. But there are some juicy infantry units you don't want to fire back, like a heavy weapons team from Imperial Guard, or, God forbid, something from the Tau.
Yeah. But yeah, you were saying Emperor's Will.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Use this one in your movement phase when a Black Templar infantry unit from your army advances. Until the end of the turn, models from this unit can still shoot with their pistols and still charge.
Yep, there you go. There's an advance and charge.
So and shoot.
Yep. It's gross.
That's built for that 20-man squad. That's what it's built for.
Oh, yeah. So, like, you've got your frontline commander, which gives you the +1 to your advance and charge rolls. Now you can advance and charge in the phase. So, yeah. There you go. There's your combo with that 20-man unit being able to basically get out of a Rhino, maybe turn 2, move, advance, and charge.
Yeah.
After shooting with pistols.
Yep. Soften them up before you're rolling in there and just dice them up. Or better yet, turn 3. That's boom.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see here. We have Oaths of Honor. I'm going to skip this one. This is one of those, and maybe Potter will get your opinion on it. It allows you to select a Black Templar scout unit. Now, with these keywords, we're not talking the initiates or the neophytes. They effectively let you still take scout units, which I think kind of goes against what the Black Templar had. And basically, if that unit, what does it say? Your army that made a charge or was charged this turn till the end of the phase, when attacking with it, you can reroll the wound. I don't think they have the scout word. Let me go double check, but no.
Okay.
It's an odd one, so I don't know its place. I guess it's if you're snipers or your scouts, that your neophytes that don't have initiates with them. Okay.
Yeah, maybe you're just like trying to take units. I don't know.
That's where I'm kind of hazy, or I disagree a little bit, because
I guess if you want to take two Crusader squads with just the Space Marine power armor guys, and then you take 2 scout squads and say they're fluff wise they're the initiates that are not necessarily going along with them, but doing something else. I don't know.
He's just dripping of heresy with every attempt of explanation.
I'm trying to justify it. I really am.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right. But we do have another one, Vicious Riposte.
Oh, this is great.
Awesome.
Yeah, when infantry units attack from your army, when you make an armor save it's unmodified, a roll of a 6, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound after it's finished attacking.
Yeah, Potter says it doesn't make much sense to him about the scouts either.
Cool. I feel vindicated. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Okay.
And shock and awe. This is the best one. Sorry, this is when they debuted 9th edition rules that had to do with vehicles being in combat and being able to shoot, and just envisioning a bunch of, let's just take let's take a Crusader squad. We've got 15 guys. Let's dump them in a Crusader Land Raider, right? Uh-huh. So in the Land Raider Crusader, basically when they disembark from it until the end of the turn, units can't fire Overwatch at them. And resolving attacks made against that unit, you subtract 1 from the hit roll.
That's pretty great. And this is till the end of the turn. So yeah. So you disembark, you can't be overwatched, and then in the melee, they're -1 to get hit.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. And keep in mind, you could probably still advance and charge with the Emperor's Will.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's nothing to say that you can't.
And there's nothing to say that Land Raider can't keep pace with your moving and advancing and charging, because it has a pretty decent move, and then charge itself. That way the following turn, if you're still locked in combat, which how couldn't you be when you use Devout Push and pile everybody in around to ensure that they can't fall back.
Right.
Unless they use that new stratagem we saw today. Stukari, I hope you're listening. We just found a really good use for it. You get bubbled in, you can go through. But let's say they don't want to spend those command points, or the risk is too great. They have to sit there and weather your next shooting phase, and you just unload with all those hurricane bolters.
Yeah, they're not heavy, so you can actually fire at your full ballistic skill.
Wow. And I mean, God Emperor forbid that, the High Marshal happens to be there, and you're like, re-rolling these?
Oh God, that's just terrible.
It's amazing.
Anyway,
it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it makes Land Raiders gross.
Yes, it does. So that moves us. Yeah, and they're not too terribly expensive, at least as it stands now.
Yes, and that the caveat being that we know that all points are going up next edition.
Yeah. I suspect it's only going to be infantry, but we'll see.
Yep, we'll see. But yeah, Land Raiders, like them.
Yeah, they're great. So for artifacts, I think the one from the previous codex was the Crusader's Helm, which increased your bubble, your relic increases your auras by 3 inches.
Yep.
Okay.
Which is pretty good. It's not a bad relic. I know there's that's something I wish I could have with characters.
Okay, hang on, let's read this. Add 3 there. In addition, at the start of your movement phase, select one friendly Black Templar unit that has a Combat Doctrine's ability and is within 6 inches. Until the start of your next movement phase, the Assault Doctrine becomes active for that unit, replacing the current active doctrine.
That's different.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's live on air, Revelation and Cathartic Moment. That's really good.
Yeah. So, and it's it's just
that you almost have to give that to our ancient now. I don't know. That's tough. He's got the Crusader's helm. He's got the banner.
Well, I think we give the ancient the banner, and then if we were to take, say, a Emperor's Champion, you could give him the Crusader's helm, and then you can pop it with.
Don't know if you can give him relics.
He's not a unique named character.
He is unique though.
Is he?
Yes, he is. Of course, I have him highlighted in blue. You can only include one of this model in your army.
Emperor's Champion.
Yeah. And I think because his black sword is effectively a relic. It's weird because he's not, and here we're going to go to some lore here. He's not per se a named character as the individual is, and this is perfect because it kind of matches what we were talking about the Phoenix Lords. It's and you'll see where I'm going with this. It's the Black Templar will have like a vision prior to a great battle or a crusade, and I don't know how they weigh in or determine if the vision's legit. I'm sure the chaplains have a great deal with this, but if it is, then he takes on the role of the Emperor's Champion, and he has the helmet and the sword, and he goes out, and it is his role to fill in the upcoming battle as per the vision's sake. So he is and he is not a special character, if that makes sense. I'd be curious. We can look at the FAQ on that, but I don't think you can just as if I were to make a judgment call on my own. But we'll see what the proof of the pudding says.
Yeah, it just says under the relics, just as long as it's not a named character.
Such as, yeah, okay. So that'd be interesting. You give him the Crusader's helm. All right.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, be like, all right, Crusader helm, you're this 20-man blob that's getting into combat turn 2 instead of turn 3. The Assault Doctrine is going to be active for them now. They're going to be.
And we have a hell of a time.
Yep. So the next relic is the Witch Seeker bolts.
Yes.
That's one of the ones you can give to a sergeant character, right?
It is. Yes, it is indeed a sergeant or a sword brother. And a sword brother, of course, is the sergeant of the Crusader squad. And this one, I think it's the ones. Okay, when the bear shoots with the weapon, you can choose to fire a Witch Seeker round. It replaces a bolt weapon, or basically you select a bolt weapon and you can use these bolts. If you do so, you can only make one attack with this weapon, but that attack can target a Psyker character even if they're not the closest enemy unit. When resolving an attack made with a Witch Seeker round against a Psyker unit, if the hit is scored, if you successfully hit, they suffer D3 mortal wounds in addition to any other damage.
Yep.
So you, that means, oh man. Yeah. You put that on an intercessor sergeant. That's the that has the. You gotta help me here. I'm brain spacing. The sniper bolt rifle. Stalker pattern.
Stalker?
Yep, stalker pattern.
Yeah, if you got a sergeant with a stalker pattern bolt rifle, means he's going to be a strength 4 -2 damage, and then on top of that, if he targets a psyker, then he's got D3 mortal wounds. Can target him if he's not the closest.
Bam.
And he's gonna have -2 damage on top of that to deal with.
Yeah, that's nice.
You could potentially punk a psyker with one shot. Like, even if it's just a librarian or a chaos sorcerer, because those guys don't typically have invulnerable saves. So -2, you're looking
at they don't. They don't. You're right. Yep. Unless they're in Terminator armor or
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Witch Seeker bolt on a sergeant with a stalker bolter. Yep.
We have the Aurelian Shroud, which is I like this one. You do it at the start of battle round, model the relic, they unveil it. Until the end of that round, you get a 4 invuln within 3 inches of this relic. I like it. I mean, I probably could find better things to do that on, but it could be useful for that 20-man blob. I guess it's only 3 inches of that model. Use it for dreadnoughts, maybe.
Yeah, because it says models and friendly Black Templars units have a 4+ invulnerable save. So the unit just has to be within.
Okay, yeah, and I guess that's not terrible, but
I'm just making sure I'm reading that correctly, because sometimes they specify models within so many inches or a unit within so many inches, but it just says models and friendly Black Templars units have a 4+ invulnerable save, whilst their unit is within 3 inches. So yeah, so you could kind of squeeze them between 2 20-man blobs, and they would both have a 4+ invulnerable.
Yeah, I think you could too. And I mean, the next one, I think we're going with Grimaldus, so I'm going to skip it. And these last two are nice because these are the other two you can take for your sergeant or your sword brethren. And yeah, the skull here is great. Once per battle after a psyker, a psychic power has been manifested by an enemy psyker within 12 inches of the model of this relic. Roll a d6. On a 2+, that model suffers d3 mortal wounds after the psychic power has been resolved.
So just in case Witch Seeker bolt didn't work.
Yeah, exactly. And if it manifests, correct me if I'm wrong on the wording, when I cast a power, it successfully casts, it manifests. Then the ability to try to deny it goes off.
Yes.
So rules is written, you can cause them mortal wounds and still, because that's part of the power being resolved, still deny it.
I think so. I mean, that makes sense to me.
If that's the case, that's pretty awesome. You just 2+ it, take D3 mortal wounds, and your power doesn't go off.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Whore of the Witch says when a psyker model manifests a psychic power.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And the last one's Sword of Judgment. This is nice. Maybe you throw this on. We didn't cover it, but they have the, veterans of the Indominus Crusade. You can give to an intercessor squad, effectively giving them, +1 attack.
Yep.
So you could have your shooting intercessor squad that's backing up these Crusader squads and maybe give their sergeant a power sword, which I believe you can do now.
Yes, you can.
And you just swap that in there. Boom. Now he's strength 5, -3, and 3 damage. With how many attacks would he have?
He would have... Because he would have 2 he's got 3 normally, 4 for being a veteran, 5 on the charge.
Yep, and then 6 if that litany's going off.
Yep.
he's a champion unto himself. That's awesome.
Yep. Actually, he would be strength 6 too if he's right next to High Marshal.
That's true. That's just
Yep.
your intercessor sergeant. That's like, guys, I really want to be like you. Let me show you how much I want to be like you.
Just let me be like you. I already am. Look at me.
And they're like, this guy kills. This dude, he kills. This
Yep.
guy, he crusades. He crusades. Yeah, the Emperor's champion's a whopping 75 points.
Yeah.
Grimaldus
Yeah.
is 90. Okay.
Yeah, and his servitors are 2 points a pop. You can take 3. So it's
Yeah,
90
yeah.
points, I guess, if you really want to get technical. But you don't have to take
You don't.
those
You
guys.
really don't. I mean, they're nice, but
If you're skimming 6 points off the top, why not?
yeah, why not? You got to get every point you can, because if you notice, it's 13 points for freaking initiate as opposed to the 11 all the other Marines are. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Anybody
that's
else
unfortunate.
caught that? Maybe more to your point, if they're like, look, I just want to play a bunch of guys with bold. Okay, fine, build normal Marines, but use these rules. Nah, I would go Crusader squads, just to reiterate, and we'll do a fun picture.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, why not? If you're playing Black Templar, why would you not want to play Crusader squads?
Yes, already, and Potter, I'm glad you're listening. A lot of my word bearers playing, I played against Black Templar, and I developed a strategy of a lot of mass infantry, because that's kind of what we would bring against each other. I mean, we had rhinos to supplement this. We had our predators or whatever to counter all the infantry and whatever. But as we got into further editions, as you know, Cyprian, I do still like to field a lot of infantry. So as I'm looking at Adeptus Astartes, and there's the push to do a lot of shooting Primaris, and like now I want to see a close combat army. What's my equivalent of a cultist? And I don't mean that to diminish the role of the Crusader squad, but my Crusaders they're gonna be more expensive than a cultist, obviously, but they're gonna outperform the crap out of it. And maybe my opponent will overlook the 20-man unit of quote unquote squatty Marines to focus on the other things I field, like dreadnoughts. Just for full disclosure, Potter, 20 intercessors are going towards this army, and probably the Redemptor dreadnought if the Dark Angels don't get to it first. But I'd like to see that and put that in their court. Okay, do you shoot at this, or do you shoot at the Predator we have here?
Yeah,
A lot of options. Not to leave you hanging, big guy. They do have the Sword Brother and Crusader squad, like is that what they're called? Let me get out my Vigilus book real quick. They have the ability to make these your Vanguard. Am I getting that right? The melee veterans.
which Vigilus book? The first one?
I'm just talking in general for Space Marines, Vanguard, the melee veterans.
Yes, Vanguard veterans. You're correct. They have jump
Oh,
packs.
this is different. Okay, so this basically to do Sword Brother, and you spend a command point. High Marshal, the Emperor's Champion, Captains, Company Champions, and Company Veterans, and the detachment gain the Sword Brother and keyword. And there's a couple of stratagems you can do. One of them I really like is it's 2 points. You use a stratagem at the start of the fight phase. Pick a Sword Brother unit from your army. Add 1 to the attack characteristics in that model in that phase. In addition, you can reroll wound rolls for attacks made by that unit until the end of the phase.
That's pretty good.
Yep. And then you get the Holy Orb. The Holy Orb is back. Toss it into the squad, do some mortal wounds. Great. But that would be the idea of that Black Templar army. You toss out the Codex Astartes infantry, you cast that aside, you bring in the Crusaders. Otherwise, your mechanized pieces of the army would still kind of follow Codex Astartes suit. But they're really there to back stuff up. But although in this New World Order, how vehicles can shoot in close combat, why the hell not have a Predator move on the flanks of that Crusader squad?
Yeah, Potter confirms Vanguard is melee, Stern is shot.
Okay. And unfortunately, no. I think if you wanted to have a mass squad, but I think with Company Champions, you could take 3 in a squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you could still get a nice little mix of guys to follow your dude into battle and kick some major ass.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, I think Black Templars with this book got just as much love as any other chapter that got a supplement all their own.
Right. No, I really do. I think they may even be overlooked. I don't see a lot of folks talking about it. Maybe 9th edition, they will revisit it.
I think so. I think that'll be definitely an army that will pop back up very significantly. They definitely have the ability to field a lot of bodies with a lot of attacks that have a lot of procs.
And I tell you what, brother, Cyprian's getting really good at painting black, so I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe we'll get some... I'm going to put that on you. No,
I'm more than happy to
Vish and
show
I
it.
can do it. Yeah, that's for sure. I think that's our oath of moment. Was that they call that? It's our brotherly oath to our crusader from afar. All right. Now, on to oaths that have been broken.
There you go. That's
Heretic Astartes, yes.
Yeah, so you and I, like we said at the beginning of this little episode, we're super excited for this book because it had all the Heretic Astartes stuff in it. And they previewed one of the coolest things from past editions, the demon weapons.
Yeah, the demon weapons, albeit if you really read between the lines, some of the artifacts in the Chaos Space Marines Codex are quote-unquote demon weapons, but no, they have explicit demon weapons now, where they have the mechanic where you're kind of gambling with the weapon in hand. You roll a d6 on a 2+, great, you get to go along. If you roll a 1, I don't think you get to do anything that phase, right? Or you just suffer... Oh yeah, you can't use the weapon further, and you suffer a mortal wound.
Yep. Oh, so Potter has a question real quick.
What's he got?
He's asking about Black Templar, I'm assuming. Are they a niche army made to fight just a few things, or could they be fielded against it?
You cut out there, Cyprian. I assume everything, anything, all comers list?
Yeah, so are they a niche army meant to fight just a few things, or could they be fielded against anyone?
I'm going to try not to be overly complicated in my response, and then I'll get your take on it, Cyprian. So my answer to that is, first of all, your Space Marines, you're operating out of this book here, the Codex Astartes, the end-all be-all. Let me go to the front cover of it. This codex right here and future releases for Space Marines that fall under this hood are going to only add a answer for every scenario. So, yes, your rules lend you being more niche, particularly in the Assault Doctrine, about turn 3 or 4, or if you've been, with set up abilities even sooner. That's not to say that you want to devote some points into close combat. You're not going to have the backup you need, because you are. There's plenty of units in this book that will ensure your guys have the support they need. So it wouldn't be like playing, let's compare it to, say, Dark Eldar Witch Army. You're all witches. You don't have a lot of shooting to back up your trudge into close combat. You got speed on your side, but your Marines, if your guys need to take a turn to catch their breath while the intercessors behind them just blow the crap out of everything, then all right, that's fine. Your Marines will be all right. Does that make sense? I don't know. Does that answer your question, sir? I hope it does.
Yeah, I mean, I would say they are kind of a army that can be fielded against anyone, but they're going to excel at close combat.
This is true.
So, I mean, if you want to build your army of Black Templars, you're going to want to focus on more of the close combat-esque type stuff, but don't ignore your Predators. Don't ignore, intercessors with bolt rifles.
Yeah, that's a perfect point. You said Predator, or any of the tanks, Land Raider, Crusader, Dreadnoughts even. Sorry, what were you saying? Go ahead.
Repulsors.
Yeah.
It's like shooty tank. Yeah.
Anything that you can get in close combat that makes your opponent go, I got to get out of here. Do I want to risk getting out of here? Because they have that stratagem that you can spend that you could potentially deal mortal wounds when they try to flee. If they do stay in the fray, your tanks are going to be able to blow the piss out of them.
Yeah.
Your melee combat armies now have that ability to get that support. And from what I'm reading, it would go off in the shooting phase. And then in whatever's left in the assault phase, that unit you're still tied up in, you're going to consolidate in. And you're going to murder, again, whatever's left. If there's nothing left, let's say that vehicle mows down everything, I'm assuming those guys get to declare a charge in the next assault phase, following the shooting phase. So yep. I think now more than ever, the kind of thing you and I, Potter, the kind of strategies that we wrapped our head around in the early days are really coming into the focus new edition with the sort of things that units are allowed to do. And it's going to be fun to see. But
yep. Cool. Okay, well, I'm glad he said that he's good. He follows.
Cool.
So, alrighty. So we were talking about demon weapons. So in the past couple editions, the only demon weapon that's really been around was Avalon's Dracnian. And it was always this rule. Whereas on a 2+, you got to swing it with that many extra attacks, and on a 1, he suffered a wound. And I think last edition he actually swung out like 1 or something stupid. But this one, it has been that he takes a mortal wound and kind of can't do anything.
Right.
But get to see more generic demon weapons that anyone can take is awesome.
And they have one for each of the gods kind of slated, and I think reading through them, it's evident which ones can... I think to their credit, they try to have them all be able to go to every marked demon prince or otherwise, with the exception of the Nurgle one. But you effectively have all the gods, and then you have a very lackluster undivided, or I guess it's ambiguous. Anybody can take the the black axe.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, the hyphens and names are the different names that demons accrue throughout the longevity of them being, the whispers in the darkness of some vizier, or an entire like idol that a whole tribe may have worshipped, iterations again and again, and they take up these names. And eventually, the more of these little names that you can string together in succession, the more power you have over them, because it may not be their true name, but it might be the next best thing, the thing that they're most recognized over the years.
Gotcha. So the first one we have is K'Ak.
Yep.
Which is basically
the Boundless. This is perfect. It's Q. Sorry, we're gonna get banned for talking about this, but any of you LARPer Q guys out here, this demon was first known as Q, the internet sort of sleuthing guy that gives leaks and reveals.
Okay. But yeah. So this is a really cool one. I like this one a lot. This is actually probably one of the ones I would take.
Same here. I like this one too.
So it's a Tzeentch model with the Power Sword, Hellforged Sword, or Force Sword only. The relic replaces a Power Sword, or sword, and has the following profile. It's a melee strength user, -3 D3 damage, and when resolving an attack made weapon, invulnerable saves cannot be made.
That's really awesome.
Put this thing on a Demon Prince.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask you. Which one would you go with? And I think that the obvious choice is the Demon Prince.
Yeah.
And you tell me why while I fetch the data profile. Because sorry for the loyalists out there. This really is the Chaos book, so we might go till 10 o'clock or later tonight on this, but I'll be damned, thrice damned, as it were, if we don't cover some of this in detail. So,
yeah, so for me, it would be a Demon Prince because they have a significant amount of attacks already. I think it's 4 or 5, and they are already strength 6, so they're wounding most things on 3s. And then you just get a nice little AP bonus and D3 damage. The fact that it's also ignoring invulnerable saves means that you've got a lot of damage potential.
It also frees up a psychic power. You're going Tzeentch, so you want to utilize that, and you don't necessarily have to take Death Hex, which this is my personal favorite for Demon Prince. Oh well, that's my word bearer one, but no, that's great. I mean, what did you say? So you basically would have 4 attacks. I think you get +1 on the charge. You may have already gone over this already. I apologize. Strength 7. Okay. That's awesome. I like it.
Yeah, so that's one reason why I like it. It goes straight through invulnerable saves. Like you said, yeah, it frees up a psychic power also. Just use something like a Diabolical Strength or Warp Time, something else, or himself.
Right.
Pick your poison.
I keep throwing back and forth. Control's a hell of a button. Okay. What's the next demon weapon we have on the list?
All right, let's see if I can butcher this one. Tharis and Ray all. The rapturous...
And yeah, you gotta say it like you're in a David Lynch movie or something, or David Lynch TV show.
Yeah, it's like, no, that's not me cutting in and out on my microphone.
Although it might be, and you wouldn't know the difference.
Hey. So this is a Slash model with 2 Lightning Claws or 2 sets of Malefic Talons only. It replaces those, and this one is Strength User, -2 AP and Damage 2. But when you resolve an attack with this weapon, you can reroll the wound roll, like Lightning Claws.
Yep.
We're rolling for the weapon's demon weapon ability. On 2+, you make that number of additional attacks equal to the result.
That's pretty good. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so Demon Prince, if you can go back to that,
yes.
When you give him 2 Malefic Talons, he gets 3 extra attacks?
Yes. So if you're already getting, on average, I guess, yeah, you'd be getting at least your 3. You could potentially be getting more.
Yep. And but the benefit is also that you're rerolls.
Yeah, you're rerolling your wound rolls. Yep.
2 damage, right?
Yep, -2 damage. It's basically identical. You're gambling with the D6. You could hurt yourself, but with the reroll to wounds, that's important. There's a Warlord trait called Flames of Spite that when you get a wound roll of a 6, you do mortal wounds, and it can be nice, like if you're chasing those.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that you're going to be potentially getting up to 6 extra instead of just the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, you're playing Chaos. You're going to be rolling the dice every time.
Yep.
Why not?
Right.
So you're either going to win really well and everything pay off, and that's just going to be Tzeentch laugh.
No, yeah, in this case, Slaanesh will take delight in your agony as the 2 rival demons just take turns.
Yeah.
Rip and Terror. That's their name. We should just replace this note here. Rip and Terror.
Yeah, you just feel your soul getting sucked out of your body as you notice that one gets rolled. It's like, oh, okay, there. Well, so okay. Next we have Khorne's relic up. We have Zal Wrathful.
It's a Power Sword or Hellforged Sword. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you go for it this time.
Yeah. So your strength is user -5 AP, which I really think is the attraction to it, and it's 2 damage. And when you're rolling for the damage for the demon weapon ability on a 2+, you actually add that to the strength. So
Yeah.
that can be nice. I would again, you're going demon prince. So there's a nice little rule here that it's might over magic. That if you're devoted to Khorne, you're getting a bump to your attack characteristics. So you're gonna have 5 attacks. You'll have 6 on the charge. Let's hypothetically say that you're gonna be a world eater. So you're gonna have 7 on the charge. Great. Take some Malfuric Talons, pair that. You'll have 8, but one of them will be with the Talon. Okay, awesome. The rest, you're going to throw out that sword at, potentially, I guess on average, 9 strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So guess what you're going to send after a Land Raider?
Right.
Your Demon Prince with that Demon Blade.
Yeah.
And guess what that Land Raider is not going to get?
An armor save. Yep.
It's great. Love it.
You just hope through all those attacks you could chew through 2 damage pop.
Yeah, that's true. But next up is the Fist of Decay. How would you pronounce that one?
Hang on. Gahol axe. Yeah, that's how you say Gahol axe.
Gahol axe. I guess you gotta have more phlegm in your throat.
Yeah, hang on. Gahol axe.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so this is a Nurgle model only, and Relic replaces a Power Fist. So this is ×2 strength, -3, flat 3 damage.
Okay.
So already nice when compared to a normal Power Fist. Its ability is when resolving attack with this weapon, subtract 1 from the hit roll, like a normal Power Fist, but an unmodified wound roll of a 2+ is always successful. So once again, this is kind of nice if you're going to go after that Land Raider.
Yeah.
So normally a Marine with the Power Fist is going to be wounding that Land Raider on 4. Now he's wounding it on 2.
Yeah, or that knight or whatever. Yeah, the -1 to hit does kind of suck, but you're Chaos Lord if you throw it on him. You got a baked in reroll to hit of 1, so you got a nice little buffer there. Would you say it's a good alternative to the Smash Lord? And we'll get into what that is when I really deep dive into some of the stupid stuff on the next page. But would you say that could fit like a Nurgle Smash Lord?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One thing, because it's flat damage 3, so you don't have much swing, as they say, with the damage output.
I noticed that it's basically a Thunderhammer in that case.
Yep. You're still taking the -1 to hit. Like I said, you're hitting on 2s, so now you're hitting on 3s, you're rerolling 1s. And the fact that you're always winning on a 2, and it's not just against, enemy infantry, or, it doesn't work against vehicles.
Right. Yeah, it decays everything. You just touch it, and it gets rusty aids, and it's happy about it.
Exactly. So you've got your Smash Lord, and he's hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, and he's always winning on 2s. And so your Smash Lord has got 5 attacks on the charge?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's a potential of 15 damage.
Could be pretty nice.
So he could almost take it out at night by himself. He's got the mark of Nurgle, so he's not swinging twice.
No.
But still, I mean, for a cheap Lord with a Power Fist.
You can roll Sorcerer with him, maybe throw Demonic Strength on him, so you can... I mean, again, you're always winning on 2, so that's not a big deal, but that extra attack, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like if we're doing, max damage, that goes up to 18 damage, potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, honestly, what it would come down to is the fact that also a Power Fist is cheaper than a Thunderhammer. I think a Thunderhammer is like 40 points, and a Power Fist is 9.
That's true, especially for characters. Yeah, that's a good point.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're looking to squeeze out, or, you shave off some points somewhere, then yeah, it's a good option. Unfortunately, our Chaos Swords can't take Storm Shields, so they're not as durable as a Smash Captain. But you know what?
Speak for yourself. We'll get to mine in a second.
Yeah. Well, yeah, those of us not blessed by Lorgar.
Hey, you know what? That's you guys. You're always making it about yourselves. All the other traitor legions failed because they pursued what they wanted their fathers to do, and the word bearers, they stuck together because they realized they were part of a greater plan. They were the will of the gods, the primordial truth, that all things will eventually decay into chaos. I mean, honestly, I know that sounded a little preachy, but that's really what's that, and some genetic mutations on their part that make them susceptible to sort of that religious fanaticism and zealotry. That's what's tied them together as brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. I just I feel like my attachment to all space is what makes us great. We welcome anyone and all from all walks of life and every devotion. Black Legion, we accept all as they are.
The way they word it in the Man Flayer is they take the black.
Yeah,
it kind of reminded me of the Game of Thrones thing. Yeah, I know Potter's listening. Anyway, this, speaking of which, the Black Axe, spray that Abaddon gives, Ezekiel gives all of his Terminators to spray down, and then one is gifted with the can afterwards. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's actually an axe. Go ahead, read it away.
Okay,
this is for you. Thank you, Lord Ezekiel. Abaddon. Okay.
Yeah. Did you use the whole can?
It is War Master Axe Spray.
It's warp scented. Model with power axe or force axe or demonic axe only. This relic replaces the power axe. Blah blah blah. So this is melee strength user, AP 0, 1 damage. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, an unmodified wound roll of 4+ inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to damage.
Now,
sorry.
There's only one way I would use this. You maybe already know I'm going with it.
Lay it on me.
It would have to be a Chaos Lord with a power axe, and he would have to have Flames of Spite, and he would have to have a Dark Apostle there, chanting him on, giving him +1 to wound, and he'd also have to be using Veterans of the Long War. That way, on a 4+, you are getting 2 mortal wounds a hit. And you make him the Mark of Khorne, and you do that twice for 3 command points.
Yeah.
And maybe give him Demonic Strength as well. That way he has,
that extra attack.
Yep.
I've seen it thrown on a Demon Prince, and it doesn't do anything. I mean, it was sad to watch, really. It's like, yo, you took a relic, and you deal 2 mortal wounds, and that was it. Yeah. You didn't even wound with anything else because it's AP 0, 1 damage.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's really where you have to stack it. I think if you get a 4 and you're dealing 2 mortal wounds, freaking hit with that many attacks.
I mean, if it was an unmodified wound roll of a 3+ or 2+, okay.
Yeah.
Or if it was just a
there's no AP. Yeah, it's hard. You're right. You're not wrong. But that's the only way. I should say. There's other ways, but.
Or if it was a wound roll of a 4+, sans the unmodified. Okay, then yeah, you're on your infantry guy. You get to use veterans in your dark.
Stack it up.
You are twos. So okay, that I could see it being potentially, but with an unmodified wound roll of a 4+, and you're just dealing a mortal wound, it's just sorry, but it just no.
There were not many canticles devoted to this particular Ul Kaka, the Black Axe, and Logar's many books. So worry not, we will move on.
Yeah. All right.
And only thousands of corpses laid it. That's it. Thousands of corpses. That's okay.
Yeah. Really.
Only one brave soul seeks now to find it by other means. I think more than one brave soul should seek it if it's a demon weapon worth seeking out. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now is where we get to the meat and potatoes of chaos to Castartes. So we've got your boys in red, the word bearers.
Blood of traitors. Yes. So we had talked a great deal about these guys in our previous podcast. So I probably won't go into too much detail. Suffice maybe kind of revisit what I like about it and what I have maybe gleaned from it since our last conversation. And potentially a plug for my triumvirate, as it were, as we structure our narrative armies, battalion kind of being a good way to measure that. I've developed a triumvirate, my 3 HQs, to be kind of a primary caste. Without going into their names, one's a Master of Possession, the other is a Demon Prince, and the last one is a Chaos Sorcerer. And even now, as I say that, I'm already going to make an amendment. The Demon Prince can be interchanged for a Chaos Lord with a Jump Pack, but more on that later. It has to do with the Corey Foss being promoted. So, and the reason why I say this, so we'll start with the Demon Prince. Right away, I'm looking at these Warlord traits. I like number 6, the Sacrilegious Regeneration. So Demon Princes inherently have 8 wounds. In this case, you're going to give him a 9th wound, and he can regenerate D3 lost wounds per turn.
That's pretty gross.
All right.
It's at the start of your turn, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So in this case, let's go back to our Demon Prince. 9 wounds. He's going to regenerate a D3. Now, for this guy, I think I make him the Marcus Slaanesh. I give him wings. He would have 2 sets of Malfearic Talons. So you'd already be up to like 7 attacks. And there's another relic. There's a relic I give him in lieu of the Word Bearer's one that is Intoxicating Elixir. So bump his strength and his attacks up by 1. So now he'd be at 5 attacks, 8 attacks, 9 attacks on the charge. and he'd be at strength 8.
Okay.
And he knows psychic power. Now, just for full disclosure, and I'll get to why in a second, he'll know Death Hex.
Okay.
All right, so
That'd be a good thing because strength 8, so you're winning most really tough stuff on 3s. The exception to those things, you'd be winning on 4s.
Right. It really is kind of a character hunter thing. Now, I know most times you're really only getting one worse save. Like the -2 is only going to take that 3+ armor save on a Marine down to a -5. They're going to have a 4-up invuln. You're getting rid of the invuln with Death Hex. But, let's say it's Guilliman. Let's say it's something that has a Storm Shield. You really got to get rid of that 3-up invuln because that's devastating.
Yeah.
And we'll get more on that, why I like that in a second. But Exalted Possession, I originally kind of slated out for the Dark Apostle, which in my lore will be a newly elevated member of the Dark Council, which will explain his absence initially when the campaign starts off. You're probably wondering where the heck's the Dark Apostle leading a host. They will be kind of going off as a triumvirate, acting under his behest, as not to disappoint him in his new exalted role, and thus the Greater Council of Sicarus. So with that, as he goes to crown a new Coryphos, which is, in a sense, a Chaos Lord, they're also the spiritual leader on the battlefield, as the Dark Apostle himself cannot be concerned with leading them. He has to attend to spiritual matters much larger. The Coryphos handles that, and so there is kind of a trust between the two, more so than most of the others. Well, his Coryphos, I guess I'm explaining what I said, explain later, has recently reached apotheosis as the Demon Prince, and the Council, they don't feel great about that, so they're going to look for a replacement. Anyway, that replacement is going to be an Exalted Possessed.
Okay, cool.
Yes, so he will get the Possessed and the Demon keyword if they don't already have it. So it effectively give him the Word Bearer, Possessed, and Demon keywords. You'll add 1 to his strength and his attack characteristics. So let's kick over to the Chaos Lord real quick. We got a Chaos Lord right over here. So he's going to have 5 strength, 5 attacks. I think we're going to give him Flag with the, like I said, jump pack. He'll have wings. It'll look cool. Which will make his movement go up to 12, but this will bump up to 13 with this ability as well. Add 1 other move characteristic.
Nice.
Right, so we'll give that guy, let's give him a Thunderhammer. Why not? So you're hitting it. Strength 10, 5 attacks. Great.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I wanted to call out. Yeah, exactly. It is gross. There's some other good ones on here. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to, pass over Sugarcoat. Master Union's great, but between the two, Exalted Possession and Sacrilegious Regeneration are the ones I want to focus in.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So it'll lead us to our stratagems,
which they have some good ones.
They do. The Malevolent Covenant is the one that you would kind of want to use with that Demon Prince. Although I did mention I have a Sorcerer, so he could just as easily do this. But he rolls up on a unit. Death Hex is, I think, a cast on a 7 or an 8. They're 12 inches away. Let's say you fail that roll. You can spend a command point, deal a mortal wound to yourself. The power goes off at its minimum value, but it cannot be denied.
Yeah. That's insanely good.
It's really good.
For an army that's very dependent, very dependent on its psychic powers, finding those ways to make sure that they go off is very important.
Yeah, when you say army, I mean, you're talking about the overarching Chaos Space Marine Heretic Astartes Codex. I mean, that whole thing thrives off a lot of these unholy unions, these sorcerer abilities, whether they be from a Demon Prince, a Chaos Sorcerer, or a Master Possession to go off. It's pretty cool. And, kind of looking back on it, we see the new morale rules and the combat attrition, that now when you fail a morale test, every model in the unit has a potential to run away on the roll of a 1, or it's a 2+ if you're below half strength. That Word Bearer's ability, the fact that they're like Codex Astartes, does kind of lend them an asset above the other Chaos Space Marines when they get to that phase. I can appreciate that now in the new edition already, and it's not even here.
Yeah.
Obviously, Apostle of the Dark Council, we're not going to be using in the armies I'm fielding because it will be reserved for when the Big Daddy Dark Apostle comes in, and boy will it, because that guy... if you've listened to our other podcasts, and I won't go into it again, but he's effectively a Demon Prince. Or no, I'm sorry, he's effectively a greater demon unto himself when he strikes at stuff under the right conditions.
Yeah, that's right. You get the nice little stars aligning, and I'll take all night.
Yep. And then so, Revered Hosts, my understanding of it, these keywords are now keyed into the Chaos Lord if you took the Exalted Possession. So when you use this... to the end of the phase, that Thunderhammer is doing 4 damage a wallop.
Yeah.
And if you give him the Mark of Corn, you could easily, do that twice. I just say it was 6 attacks in the charge. You're looking at 12 attacks, strength 10, hitting
Yep.
on threes, re-rolling ones.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and a
Yeah,
strength 10
that's.
wasn't enough. I mean, you could really pump that with Veterans of the Long War. It's nice. And
Well, yeah, you'd be winning on a night on twos.
right? And we're not done with him yet. We'll get, yeah, that's the best part. We'll get to the rest of these. I don't really care about the last one unless I'm fighting Visha, in which case I'll use it every turn I can. The funny thing is, the close combat armies, if you guys are envisioning this at home, I'm really only looking to take maybe a unit of Chosen with chainswords and flamers for some fun, like throwbacks to some purification of forbidden words that aren't Logar's word, and then some possessed. Like I'm thinking maybe 2 10-man units and rhinos. But the rest of the army, barring some of the characters, will be shooting. They'll be Bolter Marines with 2 heavy weapons a squad. I want to take a Noctilith Crown with that to confer that 5-up invuln and make casting a pain in the ass for my opponent, unless they're also playing Chaos, in which case I see it as good competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Don't worry. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all stuff that makes me actually kind of leery.
It could work, right? I mean, imagine.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know how the points are going to look, but if you have 3 10-man units of Chaos Space Marines that are just bolters, maybe a combi bolter and the sergeant, and either auto cannons or the what's the chain cannon? I forget what it's called.
Reaper chain cannon.
Yeah, the Reaper chain cannon. Having those in there, and then you have maybe you have your demon engines with your master of possession. You may either take a defiler or you take a predator. I do like the shots. And then the rest of it are rhinos with close combat stuff that's just going to be eerie and gross. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So that Smash Lord, he's getting the crown of the Blasphemer.
Okay. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
So now he has a 3-up invuln like he's a Smash Captain with a Thunder Shield, or the Storm Shield.
Exactly.
And he's going to subtract 1 from leadership characteristics of models and enemy units while they're within 6 inches of him.
Yep. So that's how you get your Smash Captain.
It definitely
with
is.
With Chaos Space Marines. And they there's also some other stuff in here that are pretty good too. I'm sure you've looked at all of them.
Yeah, well, put it this way. I will 86 one I'll never take right here. This one's gone.
Which one? Sorry.
Baleful Icon. I'm just gonna...
okay. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
they have to be too close. That's my problem.
Yeah, it's like you're already within 6 inches.
Yep.
Okay, so now you got to make an 8-inch charge. All right. It's not impossible. It's just on the other side of the odds, I guess.
It's just why in place of I could take any one of these.
Yeah, like the Malefic Tome is really good.
Yes, and I think last time I mentioned that it would go on the converted model I made, the Master Possession, but in reality I'd probably put it on a Chaos Sorcerer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it will be the one, as cover sake of this book, that will be a word bearer and maybe act as a vizier, an Erebus-like role to the War Master that is Abaddon now.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Got some characters that might be open to some parlay.
Oh, for sure. I mean, word bearers have always been in great service to the War Master, to whom the hears and sees what the Chaos Gods intend. Okay, so we'll move on past that.
Why does it feel like you're flattering me?
No, it's the God's will. If it feels like flattery, then perhaps that is the way that they have ordained you to perceive such truths at this time. But know that they are fickle.
As are you, but that's fine.
Anyway, true. Honey, I would imagine the word bearers, as now that I say it out loud, would have very honeyed words.
Absolutely.
Which is great because when the moment of truth comes down and they show you the monsters they are, it's all the better. That's all I can say. Go read Anthony Reynolds' stuff. It's perfect. All right, Night Lords. I'm going to turn this over to you. You know a thing or two about the old Haunter.
Yeah, so the Night Haunter is actually one of my favorite perks.
He evolves from Ghastly, right?
Sorry?
He evolves from Ghastly?
Yes, he does. He's actually not even in his final form during the Horus Heresy. Unfortunately, we never get to see it. We probably will soon because,
you're joking, and I'll say it at the end. But yeah, you're joking, but I think there is a final form.
Yeah, and yeah, we've maybe discussed that a little bit, but yeah, he's pretty awesome. People compare him to like the Chaos version of Batman, and we've had that discussion as well, and I don't quite agree with that statement anymore. But he is awesome.
Well, it's Owlman. How about that?
that's better
And
comparison.
you know,
It is
because
the Owlman.
because you have to acknowledge the fact that as much I think Earth, crap, I'm gonna get corrected. 3, I don't know, whatever Earth those guys are from.
I think it's Earth 3.
Yeah, and See No Evil or whatever not See No Evil, whatever freaking comic book that DC did after New 52, they were 3. But anyway, in that Earth where everything catastrophically will go wrong, and that's why the heroes are the villains and the villains are the heroes and they suck. It's almost grimdark in that fashion. So I guess one could argue that if Batman were to exist in the 40k universe and it wasn't Korax, that's who really Batman would be. It would be Conrad Kurz.
Yeah. So yeah. Anywho, Night Lords in this, they have a lot of really cool ways to make your characters good. So like for instance, their warlord trait, the Night Hunter's Curse. So this one is actually really fun because it's you get to play that character who has inherited one thing the Night Hunter had over chaos. If you've ever read Aaron Dembski Bowden's Night Lord books, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Talos is the main character in that. He's got the Night Hunter's Curse. And it's one thing that the Chaos Gods keep wanting to drag him into their fold because he has this ability that's not gifted to him from the it's outside of that.
Oh, the premonitions of the Night Hunter don't come from the warp, huh?
Yes, as far as I am aware, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's interesting. I'm not going to challenge that assertion because you may have read something I haven't, but the only thing I'll add to that is it is revealed in the Horus Heresy, and it is kind of a moment of sentiment between he and Sanguinius that they effectively kind of have the same ailment, the same genetic or Primarch's curse in that fashion.
Yeah, they both have visions of the future, and but yeah. So
even more to the point, they're death heralds. Truths that are otherwise unrealized if you're looking into the warp at the potential futures. The fact that they're seeing it actually lends credence to certain futures within the real space. So again, that might be why the Chaos Gods want them. It's like, what do you see? Okay, well that eliminates the infinity I'm living in. At least I can zero in on like half of infinity of what possibilities could be.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, so
how's that translate in the tabletop?
Yeah, but having a character that inherits that, obviously those characters are usually closer to their Primarch in one way or form. But so once per battle round, you can re-roll a single hit roll, wound roll, damage roll, advance roll, charge roll, or saving throw for this warlord.
And that's once per battle round. A lot of them I've seen versions of that is like once per battle you get a single re-roll, but they usually caveat that with like you can get command points back or whatever. But I like that. At first when I read that, I was like, nah, a single reroll's great. I stacked too many bubbles, or I had 1,000,001 excuses, so I wouldn't take it. But that one's not bad.
But see, for me, that's the one reason why I like it so much. Is because it's like, okay, you've got all these bubble stacking abilities, but you've got this warlord trait that lets you reroll the one that you didn't stack full.
Yes, and as you pointed out, I think in our preparation of this, you kept mentioning like, well, that's one command point you don't have to spend, and I kept going, well, that's assuming you, and I was like, wait. That is assuming you would spend it, and why wouldn't you if you failed any one of those scenarios that you needed to go off?
Right.
And now you kind of have that buffer, and you have the ability to save a command point for some other juicy stuff we'll get to.
Exactly. So it's like he comes down because you're playing Night Lords. If you got a Chaos Lord, he's got a jump pack. Let's be real.
If he's a Night Lord, Chaos Lord, yeah.
So he comes down, and you got to make your charge roll because he's gonna have Twin Lightning Claws. He's got no shooting attacks. He's gonna want to make that charge roll. Well, you failed it, so you don't have to spend that command point now to re-roll those dice. You can Night Hunter's Curse. But if you do succeed, you can now re-roll one of your hit rolls. But he's hitting on twos, and he's already re-rolled Chaos Lord, so you don't have to do that. Now you can re-roll the wound roll. Okay, he's got Lightning Claws, so he's re-rolling those anyways. Okay, damage roll, it's 1 damage. Advance roll, charge roll. Okay, so he survives. Okay, so he's got a 3+ armor save. If he fails an armor save, now you can re those with your Night Hunter's Curse.
Sure, yeah.
But also, now you can also re-roll an additional armor save. So say if you take a couple wounds, you can re-roll one with your Night Hunter's Curse.
That's a good point. Yeah, you can stack up on the same kind of series of re-rolls. Like if you just roll like piss, one go around, yeah. All right.
So that's just a really cool one I like a lot. One piece at a time is another one that's really good with your jump pack guy. If he does have a ranged weapon, you can back, shoot, and charge again. And and you're -1 to hit.
With melee weapons, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So that's just a couple of them that I really like. Like I said, a lot of them are basically centered around making Warlord or a guy with a Warlord trait way better in close combat.
Yeah, yeah. I like one with the shadows. That one's neat. I don't know, like as we mentioned, it was one that you kind of read over and you're like, eh. And then you mentioned how Ninth Edition may bring terrain back into focus in a
Yeah,
big
that's
way. So
exactly. It's
I
very
you
situational.
could
It's
see
like I
him
gotta charge
hunting dudes
out of
that like to
terrain.
like, like assassins that like to sit there. I don't know.
That's
Oops,
yeah.
I can scroll around. Dirty Fighter I really like too. Normally these are like your guys outnumbered, get this, and it's like no, you guys gang up on something, everyone's getting +1 to wound, which initially you're like okay, whatever, but as you mentioned, if you want to double stack stuff, because as we know you can't spin Veterans of the Long War twice in a close combat phase, well maybe the unit that's outside of 3 gets that, but everybody else around this dude, they're getting +1 to wound, and everybody's getting it when they swarm it.
Yep.
You could have some, I don't know, you get a lot of stuff that could swarm a knight and have some fun with
it. No. Yeah. And so yeah, that's the World War traits. Night Lord stratagems. A couple of really good ones are in Midnight Clad. Pretty much one that you don't leave home without. Getting -1 to be hit when you're targeted by a shooting attack. Once again, coming down with your Raptors, your Warp Talon,
yeah.
Terminators. More often than not, you're kind of stuck out in the open. So getting -1 to hit makes them more survivable.
For sure. Yeah, I like the. Again, I like the fluff, the motif behind it, the pageantry, if you will. That a lot of their things are. They eviscerate you in combat when they set up the correct circumstances. They play off your fears, and we'll get to some of that, or they cling to the shadows, using it to sort of cloak their ability to advance on you and then prey upon you.
Yeah. So one of the probably best stratagems tactically that Night Lords have access to is Vox. So this is awesome because once again, the Dembski-Bowden book shows this off very well. Talos is also good at basically cutting through a blast door, jumping in there with some smoke grenades, and then he's got a Voxhaler on his chest piece that he will just let loose and basically burst everybody's eardrums in the room.
Yeah, temporarily rendering it incapable of command.
Yeah, and so exactly, and this is very representative of that. So if you use the stratagem at the end of your movement phase, select 18 inches of any Night Lord's unit from your army. Until the start of your next movement phase, enemy units cannot be affected by any effect of the selected units or abilities. So, really cool way that people do this. You take a Helldrake, you scream them across the table, and you pop this, and you shut down your opponent's Chapter Master or their Abaddon.
Their rerolls, their Gwilman. Enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, now you're hitting on 3s just like everyone else. No rerolls.
Wow, because Gwilman has a lot of aura abilities, too.
Yes, reroll hit rolls, reroll rolls of 1, morale tests.
Yeah.
Advance and charge rolls.
Yep.
Yeah,
or even get back to the old High Marshal and the Black Templars, shut down that +1 strength, like.
Yeah, or your ancient. It's like, okay, you guys aren't shooting when you die now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just a really good one as well.
I like hit and run. Just looking over these, the fact that you can charge and then you can select select a unit, and this isn't the charge phase, I guess. If they fell back, they can still charge. That's great.
Yeah, it's just Night Lords are the master of that too. They're not at full strength like the Word Bearers are.
Right.
They've been war bands and they kind of fall into attrition over the last 10,000 years. So they have to fight dirty. They do hit and run tactics all the time. They're more about preying upon the weak, which is the previous stratagem. But
there you go. Yeah.
But yeah, that's more their style. They prey upon the weak. They take resources where they can get them, and they really rely on kind of Big Brother to do really the big fight.
Well, prey upon the weak is great because you're adding one to your hit roll. If there are leadership characteristics lower than the attacking model, well, you as an army inherently lower leadership.
Yep. As Night Lords, you get the deal out -1 to their opponent's leadership for each unit to maximum 3.
Yeah.
Raptors and Chaos Spawn also stack with that because Raptors do -1 leadership and Spawn add 1 to morale tests.
Yep.
And then you've got Leviathan Dreadnoughts with Butcher Cannons that if you take a wound from a Butcher Cannon, you get -2 to your morale test as well. So yeah, there's a lot of ways you can stack the Night Lord morale tests to really screw up the opponent.
Now, let me ask you this. As you mentioned that they are more of a war band, so, in the fluff sense, it's not to say you wouldn't see a battalion or even larger, but from fielding them sense, could you see yourself fielding, a battalion of Black Legion, then maybe taking like a whatever the fast attack detachment is?
Outrider.
Outrider. You take an Outrider. That's your Night Lords. You really stack your Raptors and your Warp Talons, and then maybe take one of the Flyers, and heck, maybe some Bikers as well. Because why not? You have the speed. You can. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think that would be something that you could see players doing, or that you would see yourself doing?
Oh, absolutely. Our one instance would be just a Flyer detachment. You take 3 Helldrakes. That's a Night Lord detachment, just so you can do Vox Scream and hit and run.
Yeah, you're dumb now. All right.
I mean, honestly,
you're really going for the throat for that one. No, I don't blame you. It's not like we don't know anybody that plays Drukari named Stu Kari that takes Agents of Effect with only Flyers, but
yeah, exactly. But now your Helldrakes can basically go 30 inches, charge.
Yep.
You can fall back and shoot and charge again in the same turn.
You can be a real pain in the ass and shut down those character auras, like.
Yeah, and you can Vox Scream. That's great too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
It's not bad at all.
What artifacts you thinking?
Artifacts. Okay. So the one thing that's kind of funny is that my favorite artifact from this book is the Vox Demonicus, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite relic overall is still the Claws of the Black Hunt from the main codex.
Yes, it's for good reason.
They're just too good. Especially because it's a relic that I'm familiar with from the past edition, and its fluff is really cool. That they're just claws. They're lightning claws that are caked with so much blood that they've blackened, and that the power field doesn't even remove it anymore.
Cool.
It's still there.
Well, as they note in Manflair's Fabius Bio book, Josh Reynolds, that demonic ichor doesn't really wash off of blades.
Yeah,
it will always stain it in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, in this case, you go with +1 strength, -3 AP, D3 damage, lightning claws.
Yep. Rerolling all your failed wound rolls.
Yeah, and you're already rerolling your hit rolls on a Lord, for instance, unless you get a minus or something, and you get your increased attack for being twin lightning claws. That's awesome.
Yep.
I agree with you. So what's this one do? What's the one out of Vox Demonicus? What's that do if you want to take something in addition to those claws? I think it's kind of a given now.
So the one thing about the claws also I wanted to say was that I always imagined painting them too, where you have this like midnight blue guy and he's got lightning claws and they're actually black. And it just always looked cool, especially if you could get them black and then you also still have bits of like red on there, so where it really looks like coagulated.
You use that whatever the technical or whatever you're telling about, the blood for the blood guide kind of thing. Maybe do little spots of that.
Yeah. So Vox Demonicus. Okay, so infantry model only. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of a model of this relic, reduce the range of that unit's aura abilities to 1 inch. In addition, enemy units that are set up on the battlefield as reinforcements cannot be set up within 12 inches of a model of this relic.
That's going to be really good too with the new rules we saw for the tactical reserves or strategic reserves.
So you're coming down with a character in Terminator armor or jump pack infantry character.
Yeah.
You got this. You can shut down your opponent's aura abilities once again, and now your opponent cannot set up their reserves to counter them. Within 12 inches.
There you go.
Then if they're not within 12 inches, they are not charging. So yeah, that's probably my favorite relic out of the book. So yeah,
like the scourging chains. You put that on Demon Prince, maybe that'd be cool.
Oh yeah, you get to improve the armor characteristic of your talents.
And then you subtract 1 from their attacks when they're within 1 inch of them.
Yep. So,
that'd be cool to model too. I mean,
yeah. You can definitely go to like your Ace Hardware or Westlake.
No, I don't know. I was thinking something from some of the Death Guard lines, or there's plenty of models now that have really cool chains and put skulls on the end of them. I don't know. You just have fun with it. Honestly, I think they have it because they still sell the old Chaos Lord, the jump pack that's got the lightning claws, and they're like, here, have some lightning claws that are like power swords, and he's got these chains that do something because we still sell this model.
Yeah, that's true.
I have it. It's a cool model.
About that. Yeah, I forgot about that model. It's aging.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. He does look small, and it's fine cast. And with metal, it was still kind of a pain in the butt to put together because those lightning claws are individual to the hand. But anyway,
Are they really?
yeah. Well, I don't know. It might be like a row of them, or it might be like two of them per. I don't. I at least know the thumb and the fingers were separate. Okay, so we got Alpha Legion. Now, I didn't do a lot of preparation for these guys because the less you know about them, the better off you are. No, I'm kidding. I know we covered
That's
them a
true.
great deal when Visha was talking over playing these guys.
Yeah. Well, we were listening to Legion on podcast, and I kind of know exactly what you mean. It's like I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I don't really want to be Alice right now, and like lose my sanity when trying to figure out who's who, what's what. Wait, there's Alfarius over here. Alfarius is over there. Wait, what?
I mean, suffice to say, you have to take I am Alfarius for at least one of your warlord traits.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, yeah, exactly.
yeah, well,
You have to.
and this it might be one of those armies where you take a detachment of HQs.
Yeah, you could take the Supreme Command Detachment.
Yep, and it's like,
Yep.
okay, my warlords come from this. This guy is this. As these guys die off, these other guys will inherit different ones. It's great, and I know that there's a stratagem in here that allows you to have an additional warlord trait. I think is that right?
Um.
We are Alfarius. Yep.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's a pretty common one, but for Chaos Space Marines particularly,
It's unique. Yeah.
that is unique for Alpha Legion. That you just go, okay, I'm gonna generate additional warlord trait for another character in my army.
And a lot of
Cool.
the flavor of this is, as we've seen a lot of the newer Marine releases, especially with the Phobos Armor Marines, they have a lot of units that like to infiltrate. And Alpha Legion can kind of return that either in the favor of counter that I should say in the flavor of redeploying units or setting it up to where units they scramble their coordinates and they have to set up 12 inches outside of the Alpha Legion unit as opposed to
Yep.
9. And I think they have one where you could shoot at a unit when it comes in. Yeah, here we go. Select one Alpha Legion unit from your army within 18 inches to shoot at the unit when it deploys in. So
Yep.
you can force them
Ambush.
in these. Yeah, you can do scrambled coordinates and then ambush and force them in these little kill boxes.
And you can do Fade and Fire like your Eldar with Fade and
Yeah,
Retreat,
it's true.
fall
Yeah,
back and still shoot. Ultramarines got nothing on Alpha Legion.
yeah, they fight a lot like them. The Alpha and the Omega.
Actually, that's not even limited to infantry. So you can do that with the vehicle if you wanted.
Oh,
Fade and
geez.
Retreat.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
Yeah. So there you go.
I love
That's a good way to.
Sabotage Armory. That's one of my favorite ones.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I forgot about that one. That's pretty great. Yep.
I mean,
Especially if it's a Death Guard one.
oh, for sure. It's
So
guaranteed at that point.
yeah, because it's most of them explode on a 4+. That's like, oh, +3. Okay, well it's gonna blow up.
I mean, even if it's not, think of it this way: you're going to field a unit that's going to be -1 to hit until they get within 12 inches of it anyway, and that unit is going to be, let's call them Havocs. Let's say they all have las cannons, and let's say they have the Marcus Slanesh, and you want to give them endless cacophony, and they're going to blow the crap out of a vehicle. They're just going to ensure that they do. Well, when it goes off, you want it to go off, and you want it to hit the other vehicles in a squadron near it, or if it's Tau, the infantry near it. Something that at
Yep.
this point you want to cause. Again, there's so many things that could chain, especially with ninth edition, some of the new rules. It's beautiful. It's only one command point. I know it's
Yep.
at that point you're looking at a 3+ for most things. Although I have seen some that are 5+ as well. But yeah, to your point, Death Guard, watch out.
Yeah, it's like sure you might have the stratagem where you can pick a vehicle that gets destroyed and automatically explode, but now your opponent does too. It's like, oh, okay, I got to be careful with my vehicles.
Right.
Can't just suicide bomb them into my opponent. Make sure that my guys aren't around. Opponent chooses too. So yeah, Alpha Legion, very good. They have some pretty cool relics as well.
Hydra's Whale sticks out. That's a once per battle use, but you use it, and then during your opponent's phase, or I guess if active, hang on, how long does it last? Until the end of the battle round, when your opponent spends a command point, use a stratagem, roll a d6, and a 4+, they have to spend an extra one, use that stratagem. Or it has no effect, and the command points are lost.
Yeah. So that's really good to do, especially if you're going up against Zukari and his Drukari.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want to use Agents of Vect, and you have 3 command points left on a 4+, you're just not use it because it's going to cost that extra command point. You're not going to have it to spend. and it's just going to not go off.
And the command points spent so far are lost, so you lose those 3.
Yep.
That's devastating.
Yeah.
Again, that's really one of those where you use it. Yep. And it doesn't have a range, it's just that turn. Boom.
Yeah. What is it? How is it described? Hydra's whale is a sophisticated jamming device corrupted by the enormous powers. A burst of direct scrap code infiltrates the Vox network. Communication devices of strategic null and void. Yeah, cool.
Yep.
And of course, there's Hydra's teeth.
I like how they have to. The blasts are limited, so ritualistic offerings are needed after each use to replenish its deadly charge. Hydra's teeth is great. That's from the previous book, wasn't it?
Oh wait, sorry, no, that's Viper. Wait, was it? No, that one's not in here. Because it's the chainsword.
Blade of the Hydra.
Funny. That's what it was.
And what's this one do? Oh, Hydra's teeth. Sorry, I'm just being dumb. It is a bolt weapon. The other one is chainsword. I like the Blade of the Hydra. It's like the Sword of Terra, but
yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm experiencing a little bit of a technical difficulty.
Yeah, you sound like it. Yeah, we don't have the perfect servitors in Vox. You know, the choir works really hard, but we get what we can get. Okay, I'm gonna move past these. Do you got any other points you want to talk on the Alpha Legion? Cool.
No, just the fact that they are kind of the masters of redeploying and making your opponent.
Yeah, infiltration.
Second guess.
Sabotage.
You're good.
Now we're on to the Iron Warriors, which I think is one that, in the attempt to get a Garthakian on tonight, maybe he's listening, although this late into it, probably not. We wanted to have him kind of speak on this. I know he had interest, but it was just a quick overview, or you may go as in depth as you'd like, but call out what you like about the Iron Warriors, how you see it kind of fitting in the Chaos Codex.
So Iron Warriors, I know they are, with all the abilities that they're given in this book, they are extremely good at ranged combat. They've got a lot of abilities that allow to give their characters bubble effects, or like rerolling ones to wound. Modified hit rolls of 6 to score an additional hit with demon engines or cult of destruction. All these really cool bubbles. They get all the bubbles essentially.
Oh yeah, that's right. You can effectively build an army as we go into this that can heal your demon engines. You can take a demon engine like a Mauler Fiend that's at 1 wound, and in 1 turn get it back up to its top bracket.
Yeah, which is amazing. It's like that's really going to throw your opponent for a loop too, where they go, okay, he's only got 1 wound left, he's on his last leg, and then you just pop that Warp Smith up next to him, give him 4 more wounds, and then he's fighting on his top bracket again.
That's cool. And then, more to your point with the shooting, calling out methodical annihilation. So, actually, let me go and preface this real quick. If you guys don't know, the Legion trait for the Iron Warriors is that you're going to do additional damage, I believe, to buildings, structures. I think that might come in focus. But more importantly, you ignore cover.
Right.
That's huge, especially with 9th edition coming out. And we see that cover is going to have more of a play in there. So, I'd like to see if that translates to melee as well, some of the heavy cover. But anyway, I digress. Mm-hmm. With methodical annihilation, you can take a unit, an Iron Warriors unit, and you select in the shooting phase, and you pick 1 of 2 options. One of which being you can reroll the damage. If you're shooting with last cannons, you can reroll the damage each one of those that you hit and wound with, or you can reroll the type to determine the weapon characteristics. So that can, as I think you pointed out, could be like obliterators. It could also be a flamer.
Yeah.
Or a missile launcher. If you're doing the grape shot.
Yeah, the frag.
Yeah.
Frag shot. That's what it's called.
Frag shot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool because that also goes with rampant. Gosh, what is it? Whatever. There's another stratagem.
The rampant technovirus. Yes.
Yeah.
The obliterators and mutilators. Until the end of the phase, you can reroll all D3 rolls made for the flesh metal guns or flesh metal weapons. So you'd almost just reserve that. You could use those both in a single phase. Like you could use methodical annihilation to ensure that your havocs are just going to blow the piss out of something, right?
Yeah, and then your rampant technovirus is going to really get.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You have tank hunters as well, which is great. You select 1 enemy vehicle unit, and then you pick 1 Iron Warriors unit, and you shoot at it, and you can reroll the wound rolls for that phase. So more the point of those havocs, blowing the piss out of it. And if we want to take another page out of the Chaos Space Marine Codex and stack Marcus Slanesh and Endless Cacophony, they can pop that off twice in a turn.
Yeah.
4 last cannons that are rerolling their damage roll and they're getting to reroll their wounds, and God forbid they have a Chaos Lord near them.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the wound rolls would only be against one vehicle, and the damage I think is only for that. Oh, it's in the shooting phase. Okay, is it to the end of the phase? Yep. They have so methodical annihilation would persist through endless cacophony.
Okay.
And assuming that vehicle survived, like let's say it's a knight, you could use it until the end of the phase. Okay, so you get the reroll of wounds against that until the end of the phase. So I'd say for 4 command points, you could probably take out a knight.
Yeah, with 1 unit of havocs.
Yeah, yeah. As Iron,
That's not bad.
that's pretty good. I'd say Iron Warriors are up for that. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really easy to fill out your battalions too, for the rest of 8th edition at least. With
Daka.
Yeah, with a bunch of cultists, you can easily fill out.
Oh, good point. Thank you. Cannon fodder. Take it away. Don't cut out. No, if you cut out, it's fine. I'll fill in the blanks.
Yeah, cannon fodder is awesome. It's just one of the perfect little fluffy stratagems that we get to use now. So this is the fluff is great. Clog up their guns with the flesh and bones of the weak.
Yeah.
So you use this stratagem at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. Select 1 Iron Warriors infantry unit from your army. Then select 1 friendly Iron Warriors Chaos Cultist unit wholly within 6 inches of that unit. Until the end of the phase, enemy models cannot target that Iron Warriors infantry unit if the selected Iron Warriors Chaos Cultist unit is the closer visible target.
Yeah, so in that case, that would be your Havocs for sure.
Yeah, so you can protect your maybe your 10-man Chaos Space Marine squad, your
10-man,
Iron
20-man.
Well, yeah. And then you just you totally screen them out with cultists. And if you want to take a 30-man blob of cultists and you have your Chaos Lord with that the Warlord trait that makes them ignore morale tests, I think it's called Cold and Bitter.
Yep.
It's okay, you're going to have to kill every single one of these cultists in order to get at my Marines.
It's true. And as long as I, save those, albeit, you got 12 command points in a battalion, that's 3 turns. If you just do that, I think those last cannons, just roll that combo out every turn. No, in fact, once you run out of vehicles, it's just interesting. It's good stuff.
And then there's that stratagem you were talking about earlier that makes your demon engines or vehicles
Unholy Vigor. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah.
Yep, just 3 wounds.
Yeah, I regain 3 wounds. I believe there's a way of healing your wounds from one of these. I want to call them detachments. They're not.
The specialist attachments.
Yes, is that what they're called? Yeah, whatever.
Yep.
Out of the Vigilist book. Yes, the Vigilist 2. So if you take some Disco Lords, they can heal them. There's a few other ways. The Master of Possession has some nice little ways of healing anything that has Demon and Legion keyword. And the nice thing is, my Word Bearer's army, I think I described this combo, but you could still use it. You have him, in addition to those cultists, he kills a cultist within 2 inches of him, deals a mortal wound. He can heal D3 wounds to that Demon engine.
Yeah.
I think it's within 18 inches.
Yeah, either way.
He's within 2 inches of his target and 18 inches of the recipient of the heal. Yeah, it's nice.
But yeah, so Iron Warriors are pretty nice. That's the cool thing I like about Iron Warriors, that you can kind of feel them really 2 different fluffy ways that make sense and that are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of guns or a lot of demon engines. You can play really aggressive either way. Be really effective either.
Their artifacts, just as a cursory look, they tend to lean more towards the individual, like the character being a powerhouse amidst the rest of the machine.
Yeah.
I can't find a one, and maybe it is there. That's...
No, they are all weapons or something that deals mortal wounds. Or
right. Some of them are great. Yeah, the Insidium's cool. Cranium Malvolus is awesome.
Yeah.
Using the shooting phase instead of shooting.
Oh yeah.
You roll a d6 for each enemy vehicle within 9 inches of that, and on a 4 through 5, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 6, it suffers 3. Oh, okay, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, Technovenomous Mechadendrils is pretty good too.
Oh yeah.
You win the bearer fight, it makes 4 additional attacks with the weapon, and only those 4 attacks with this weapon.
Well, can you put that on a Disco Lord then, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
he's got a Worksmith keyword.
Yeah.
So that guy would have a lot of attacks. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, you get 4 additional attacks with those, and each hit scored suffers a mortal wound.
Wow.
Yeah,
You'd almost
so
have to, yeah.
if you're taking Iron Warrior. I mean, if you're doing Iron Warriors, probably taking at least 3 Disco Lords.
Yeah, and that's the one that you keep further back from the other characters, so they have to. No, I'm kidding. That doesn't matter. His wounds are. Uh, Too bad he's not infantry and you can't bubble wrap him. Am I right? Okay.
Yeah, but you can stack his invuln save pretty well. I think
That's
you can
true. That's why you take that master possession.
yeah, give him Mark of Zinch, and you have a sorcerer with Weave Fates.
Yep. Yeah, Zench has always been a nice either Zench or Nurgle. I always see working for Iron Warriors. I mean, we mentioned Slaanesh, but that's a nice thing about a lot of these undivided ones is that you can pick and choose your marks, and I encourage it. You know,
and you can justify it any way you want.
that's true. I remember ages ago. God, we're really getting off topic, but we're almost through the book, guys. I promise. Ages ago, I remember having a discussion with somebody that was criticizing the fact that I took multiple marks in a Word Bearer's army. He said, well, you're undivided. You should have everything undivided. I said, no, there's different ways of worshiping the gods. You could take to the battlefield. Then you go read Storm of Iron, the Graham McNeil book about Hansu, and there is an Iron Warriors unit. They go, F it, put them in a Land Raider, and they go towards the front line because they're all in Terminator armor. They've all basically lost themselves at Khorne just through the attrition of many wars and sieges. So that's their purpose now, almost like in a pseudo-death company role.
Yeah.
So, and then you go and read Anthony Reynolds' books about the word bearers, and you get this idea that word bearers can evoke different gods at different points. Their souls are very open to it. Again, it kind of goes back to the our last Psychic Awakening book we talked about. I mentioned the Eldari they're a mirror to each one of their gods, so it's less that they're possessed of it and more that they can become each one of it. Word bearers are very similar to that, at least the more powerful ones.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's cool because like for Iron Warriors, like you could easily say a unit of Havoc is just getting lost in the music of battle and the of their weapons. It's intoxicating to them.
They're like, the numbers of a siege, they resonate in the sounds. Can you hear it, brother? It's like the explosions. Exactly. No. Can you hear it?
It's the music. Yeah.
That note punctuated greatly, as it wasn't merely penetrative of the defensive wall, but the cries of anguish beyond. Do you hear it, brother? And they're like, okay, I'm going to back away.
Right. You stay behind here and shoot your last cannon. I'm going to go towards the front. And that's where he runs into the Terminators. He's like, okay, it's no better up.
Yeah. I'll go stick with the guy with the undivided to have some good leadership. At least know somebody has some sanity, right?
Exactly. But so what do we got next? What's after Iron Warrior?
The Emperor's Children. Ooh. Speaking of music and choirs, we're not called an army, we are a choir. I have begun to put together somewhat of an Emperor's Children army because, I'll be honest, in kind of constructing Creations of Bile army, I wanted to have some of the cacophony represented, the Noise Marines. And so I have a large number of them. Then I got to thinking more, and I'm like, well, let's just double down and start collecting an Emperor's Children army. So I like this a lot. I'll be honest with you. I was really torn between them and what are the name of the guys from Vigilus 2? The Slaanesh Renegade chapter.
Oh,
Flawless Host. There you go. I was really torn. I like the Flawless Host rules more, but after this came out, I had a second glance. So basically, Emperor's Children have the Slaanesh rule, if you're familiar with it, from the Demon Codex, and that you're always going to go first, even if you charge, or even if they, you're always going to go first. If they charge and you defer, basically going off of whoever's turn it is, taking the top of it. But effectively, if you're already in combat, your units are going to fire off, go first. That's great. That said, what's weird about the army, most of what I like about it would be shooting.
Yeah, I mean, they're really good about that. They have access to Noise Marines as troop choices.
Yes, they do. And Noise Marines can get really devastating. We'll explore some of that. But to supplement that, I certainly can see some room for some close combat. We talk about the 20-man unit of Chaos Space Marines. And for a Word Bearer's army, that's all fine and well, but I feel there's redundancies in it because I can't take 4 heavy weapons, I'd just rather take two 10-mans and have 4 heavy weapons. So in this case, if I take 20 Emperor's Children with chainswords, that could be a pretty devastating, option to sort of supplement, say, 20 Noise Marines.
Right.
Now, before we go into this, I also want to point out I was reviewing the Imperial Armory FAQ, and they did not include the Sonic Dreadnought in there, but they did say that you can field a Hellbrute, and equipped its multi-melta arm with 2 blastmasters, and you can give
Uh-huh.
it a Doom Siren.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you sent me that, and it's something that's not included in the what you call it, the yeah, the Imperial armor.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's why they tell you to do that. So effectively, there's a free unit out there that, if your friends are cool with you, you don't even need Forge World rules. You could just use the rules that are printed in your Chaos Space Marine Codex.
yep. And it opens you up to some cool conversion stuff too, because you get the what was that bit called that was in the Chaos upgrade kit
Oh,
for
the
your
the
Rhino?
Dirge Caster. Yeah,
Yeah,
I used to either screw with leadership or had to do with sweeping advances or yeah, it was convoluted and weird, and I can refer to it later. But yes, the Dirge Caster. Perfect.
yeah,
Thank you. I didn't know what I was going to use.
yep, that's a good way to use some old bits that really are don't have any rules now. But it's like, okay, throw that on a dreadnought, and that's your the flamer thing with the
Oh, the Doom Siren, yes. And as
yes,
far as the Blastmasters go, I think I could probably get one of the easy to build Hellbrutes that you get from the old box set. I forget the old
yeah.
starter box. I won't call it Dark Imperium, but that's not right. What was it before that?
Oh gosh,
All right, the Dark Angel and the Crimson Slaughters. I could tell you the factions in it, but anyway, you just snip the front two of that multi melta off, and you could probably find some cool second party stuff to make it look like a double Hellblaster, and then maybe put a speaker on it, or I don't know. There's a
yeah.
few different ways you can go about it, and there is now the argument to be made: should I make it all shooting? I think in 8th edition, yes, but with an 8th edition coming out, I like the idea of having 2 Blastmasters, a Doom Siren, and then maybe a close combat array to ensure you're going first. But before that, in the shooting phase, if you did start in close combat, you're going to get those Blastmasters and that Doom Siren off.
Oh yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to get into that. So right away, this army will probably, its triumvirate will probably be a Demon Prince. It will be a. Ooh, I either go a Chaos Sorcerer, but frankly, I like the idea of a Dark Apostle. And the Dark
Okay.
Apostle, I'd like to model. There's a third party site off of Eidolon.
Ah, okay.
And then it would have Lucius.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're gonna have to have Lucius. He's one of the more iconic Emperor's Children
He's the
characters.
Eternal. I mean, he's giving you rerolls to ones. He's got some night now that he's cheap now, and he's got some nice bunch of attacks you can throw at a character. He's a nice sort of counter anybody who wants to get close to stuff you don't want to get close to, and also provides some rerolls, some hits.
Yep, he's gonna be the counter character.
Yes. Now the Demon Prince, I actually ordered a Fulgrim model from the Horse Heresy line.
Hmm.
And kind of a spoiler here, but if you haven't read Clone War, go and read it, Fabius Bile. But there is albeit we'll leave it at that. There is a Fulgrim clone out there. Suffice to say, there's a clone of every Primarch out there. So if you guys want to get creative, go for it. But I wanted to have a Demon Prince, and I wanted to build my own kind of Primarch. So
That's really cool.
we're going to keep that in mind while I'm assigning Warlord traits and artifacts.
Hmm.
So I think right away, out of the gate, Warlord trait. I have done a lot of debating. I like the Faultless Duelist.
Okay.
And that's option 4 on here. So at the start of the fight phase, you roll D3 until the end of that phase. Subtract that result from attacks characteristics enemy models to a minimum 1 while they're within 1 inch of the Warlord.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's not bad, and there are some other options in here that are very worthwhile. But I was just thinking to myself, what would Clone Fulgrim Demon Prince have?
Well, okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's definitely the oh, he's not as brutish as I guess some of the other primates. Like an Angron, like he would just take that type of stuff on the chin. And
Right. Right. This guy would be a lot of the damage deterrent coming back toward him is his ability to ward it off, his dueling, right?
right, yeah. So
And the model works for that. I mean, it is going to be on the Demon Prince size base, which is also nice. I can take him off, and it would be on the Chaos Lord size base if I decided to go that route. But anyway,
right.
it fits. Now, as we get into the stratagems, right away, 2 command points, combat elixirs. You can pick an Emperor's Children unit and effectively give it like a combat drug type of thing.
Yeah.
Either +1 attack, strength, or 2 move to the characteristic, or 1 to the toughness. You'll use it once per battle. Now, I think I'd reserve this for the Clone Fulgrim Demon Prince.
Yeah, and I mean it. Yeah, I don't know. All of those are good too.
I think I'd get him the attack.
Yeah, attack, strength. I mean, even toughness. I mean, you're looking at what a toughness 7 demon
7.
prince.
Now, I think Welleman's tough 6, so I'm okay with keeping him at tough 6.
Yeah, or just getting them +2 movement.
That's
Like,
also pretty good. Yeah, that is true. The one attack I was looking at because I wanted to I really wanted something to go in there and you just cut loose. He'd be reducing your attacks. He'd be throwing them out.
Yep.
So to kind of put that Demon Prince to an end, we got his Warlord trait. We got this stratagem. I'm not going to take any of the artifacts you see on the right. In fact, I'll probably take Intoxicating Elixir just to give him that +1 strength and that +1 attack.
Yeah, so now he's at +1 strength, +2 attacks. He's got -D3 attacks against opponents.
Yep, within 1 inch of him to a minimum 1. And for weapons, this wouldn't be WYSIWYG exactly. He'll still have a weapon. He won't have the Sword of Lair on there. I'm going to give that to Lucius. But he'll have something on that model, maybe like a chain glaive or something. But he'll effectively have 2 Malfuric Talons. I think an AP -2 probably represents more accurately the number of attacks he's throwing out in succession, and it not necessarily being like some, artifact or some awesome Fortorn like sword of note or whatever. It's him using what he's got around him, and he's just devastating because the number of attacks and the strength at which he's hitting him at. And
yeah, we are talking about a party mark after all.
yeah, I mean, albeit it's a clone of one, but even clones have a piece of the soul in the warp, as they say.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. It's definitely, it's not just a Slaanesh Demon Prince. I've seen a couple of conversions of some neat Slaanesh style Demon Princes, but I've never seen anybody go that route before, especially because these books are newer, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that one's only like 2 years old or so. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing your work.
Me too. I may pick your brain as what would be a suitable weapon because, as we know, that Sword of Lair will be going to Lucius, and I got to find a different model for that because it's way too big for the current one. So maybe we wait. Maybe GW, by the time I get done converting it, will come out with a Lucius the Eternal model. Remember that he has a Sword of Lair, unless I stand correct and you lost it somewhere, because I think they just gave him like a Mastercrafted Power Sword.
Yeah, and according to the rules as written, he's just got a Mastercraft.
Right. But anyway, I like having fun with that. So back to the fun of this army. We have excruciating frequencies, which you use for a Noise Marine unit. You're going to have 1 to the strength and damage characteristic of the Blast Masters and Sonic Blasters and Doom Sirens in that unit. So I talked about taking a 20-man unit of Noise Marines. Without going into too much detail, they got a lot of cool rules. We talked about the Ancient. When those guys die, they don't have to roll. They can just shoot again, or they can just fight you again. And I believe the Sonic Blaster is Assault 3, 24 inches, Strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage.
Yes, it is.
Now,
and it ignores cover.
It's right, it ignores cover. So you can, with a unit of, I did this math earlier, I think it was like 54 shots or something stupid like that. just from those guys. At Strength 5, you're ignoring cover, and they're 2 damage a pop.
Yeah, which is that's ridiculous.
And by the way, a clone Fulgrim with no death hex, because I am not original. But it makes sense. I like the idea that he's always going to strike 2, or you're just... Anyway, so if I'm just thinking out loud here, you're fighting a knight, you're fighting most things, this is going to clean house. That's before the Blast Masters go off, which they can either do a large number of shots, or they can do, D3 shots at Strength 8, -2, or it's 2 shots at Strength 8, -2, D3 damage. And at this point, you're doing...
8?
Yeah, it's Strength 8.
Yeah, so...
let's just, we got it. Let's just look it up. Armory. No, we'll just go right for the Noise Marines. Boom. Blast Master, single frequency, 48 inches, heavy D3, strength 8, -2, D3 damage. And again, they don't receive cover. Or you do the varied frequencies, which is 36 inch range, assault D6, strength 4, -1, 1 damage.
Yeah, so there you go. So you're at strength 9 at that point?
Yes.
So yeah.
And so if you're at strength 5, what are you winning knights on? 5s?
Yep.
You could do Veterans of Long War, getting that down to 4s.
Mm-hmm.
You could pop Endless Cacophony and do that all over again. So really you're looking at 108 shots just from the Sonic Blasters alone.
Yeah. And at that point, you're like trying to kill that knight with of attacks, meaning I've got so many attacks that you're going to fail some of them.
Yeah,
and each one is 2 damage.
Well, I guess the real question is, do you think 4 Blast Masters firing off, because it basically is 2 firing off twice, at +1 strength, +1 damage, at +1 to wound would be enough to maybe cripple the knight to the next damage box? Meanwhile, the rest of those Noise Marines, the ones with the Sonic Blasters, are just mopping up whatever infantry, whatever needs to go off around it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't know. I guess it just depends on what you're to take care of first. I think, honestly, the unit by itself could kill the knight just because you have so many shots.
Right.
I mean, even at a 3+ armor save, failing a third of those shots, that means 30 of your blasters are going through
Yeah.
because you've got 100 over 100. So I mean, yeah, there you go.
Well, you want to ensure they're really wounding. You take the remnant of the Margavigila, and that's why I wanted to take Eidolon as a priest. Once per battle, instead of chanting a prayer, a model of this relic can broadcast until the end of the battle round, resolving an attack made by a model on a friendly Emperor's Children unit within 6 inches of this model relic. You can reroll the wound roll.
There you go. Yeah. See, that's just it. It's like you have a lot of ways you can buff that one unit of Noise Marines.
Yes.
And just devastate.
And it's one of those where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't when you shoot at it.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's.
Yeah, it's like you have to take care of them, but you know that when you take care of them, they're just going to shoot again.
Well, boys and girls, I own the Marines and the Sonic Blasters. It's just a matter of putting them on there. And I think I have an excess to either devote to a further close combat. Because, again, the plan with that would be my big shooting. I would have at least 3 Hellbrutes with the Blastmasters and Doom Sirens as well. And then I would have close combat oriented units, whether it be Chosen or normal Chaos Space Marines, and then probably some Cultists to boot just to get in the way to ensure that, Clone Fulgrim and Lucius can get done what they need to get done. But Cruel Duelist is great. I mean, that's, if you score unmodified wound roll 6, AP becomes -3, so you're kind of fighting like Eldari in that case. And then excessive violence is good. The rewarding on this is good too, because it when you destroy an attacking model, it can make an additional attack from the same unit. Those can generate potentially additional attacks if they get 6s, whereas before they couldn't.
Ah, yeah, that's true. Yeah. And let's not forget Honor the Prince, which is amazing.
Honor the Prince.
Yeah. Use this stratagem in your charge phase after making a charge roll for Children's Slanesh unit from your army. You change the result of 1d6 to an a6.
Boom.
So that means you're almost getting a guaranteed charge.
It's awesome. Now, here... I got to remember how this works. You know what? We'll go on a different time. We'll have to do a deep dive in an army, because there is some fun stuff when you start summoning demons. Like, even if it's a Herald Slanesh and some of their powers, especially with the Demon Prince Mark Slanesh Fulgrim, where you can get them to charge out a turn, get into combat, and... Whew. All right. There's some great other stuff in here. Don't get me wrong. We'll revisit it, but that is what I have in a nutshell, an army I'd like to build. If you guys have any suggestions, I could kind of fill in the blanks between all the Sonic Blasters, the close combat angle, and the 3 Hellbrutes. Let me know. I'm going to try to avoid using demon engines, as I don't want to buy the same models 2 effing times, so that's going to be reserved for the Word Bearers. And I know Possessed would be great, but the Possessed will probably be with the Word Bearers as well. Now, the fun part about all this is that when I field my Agents of Bile army, you'll probably see a lot of black with hot pink, and then the crimson, or the Word Bearers, blood kind of crimson and silver. So, not without the appropriate characters, though. But,
Right. Because there'll be an Agents of Bile listed. Characters from your Word Bearers and your characters from...
Yes, a lot of fun for the boys and girls for that. So, and it'll be varied. It'll be great. Whereas you'll probably have a Black Legion feel, which I think is more true to form that you read out of that book. But, it would be cool. Who knows? Maybe I'll get to the end of my Fabius Bile book, and my theory will pan out, and we'll have a reason why there's a lot of different people that are fielding a great character.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows?
That would be so fucking awesome. So anyways, we got the last one of the book, and that is going to be the World Eaters.
Last but not least, I mean, this is, you know what? You take it away. I think you and I both know, we both own a fair amount of World Eaters. And this is one of those armies that I think both of us have enough of a sentiment and appreciation for, that we see beyond the murder, maim, kill, burn. You could see sort of the tragedy and the greater story, and some of the cooler players there within, Karn being one of them.
Speaking of him, like, if anybody listening to this hasn't listened to the audio called, what was it, Chosen of Corn?
Chosen of Corn, I think that's what it's called. It's Anthony Reynolds. Check it out. It's really good.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours long, something like that.
It's shorter than this live cast, yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, we're almost on 3 hours.
It's okay, we're on the last one.
We'll pick like one or two things out of each of these to talk about. So for Warlord traits, there's a couple of good ones. What was I was going to talk about? Anyways, Slaughterborn. So when an enemy character, monster, or Titanic model is destroyed as a result of attack made by this Warlord, you add 1 to the Warlord's attacks and strength characteristic. This is the stock one out of the main book. This is the one that Karn himself does have. So he goes around, he starts killing all these different things to gain glory, and he gets physical stat ups to present that. pretty cool, very fluffy.
Now, let's be honest with ourselves, folks. If you're going to run this army and you have somewhat of a World Eaters contingency allied, I don't necessarily know if Karn would be the leader of it. He might just be there and murder anybody that gets in his way. So don't feel compelled to take this. If he's your character, you can certainly take something else, justify it. But just note that all the other captains are dead. No.
It's true. Yeah.
So yeah, going down. I like Arch Slaughter. That's neat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the extra attacks. It's the one thing I wish. Is there a way to do it? Maybe you can answer right off the bat. A way to allow a Khorne warlord to attack like the Khorne berserkers do.
Unfortunately, no. There's no word trait you can give to a quote-unquote generic Chaos Lord, other than just Mark of Khorne and the stratagem. That's 3 command points. But there is the stratagem that you can spend to turn a unit of Chaos Terminators to Berserkers.
Oh, the Red Butchers. Yeah, this was an old Forge World unit for ages and ages ago. Now you can actually field it at home.
Yes, that's right. So any Chaos Terminator World Eaters that you have, you can spend 2 command points before the battle begins, and you add 1 to their strength characteristic, and they get the Blood for the Blood God special ability, which is they fight twice in each fight phase only once. Caveat, you can only spend the stratagem once.
Yeah, they're only going to have enough room for 1 set of Red Butchers, but it's a great sort of accessory, to throw in there with your Khorne Berserkers, because your Khorne Berserkers now are going to count as troops. You'll have some freed up options for elites if you want to throw those in there. Great. I also recommend Possessed for this army, as well as the Greater Possessed to sort of buff those. But at the end of the day, I mean, how would you equip these Terminators?
So first thing that comes to my mind when I view World Eaters is chain axes. And, I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, strength 6, blah, 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 -1. Okay, that's not bad. But you know what? We want extra attacks. We want all the attacks.
Oh, right, because we're going to get +1 attack for charging, plus another attack for being World Eaters and charging.
Right, and we're going twice. So you're essentially doubling up on that +1 attack for being a Space Marine in charge.
Ignoring the +1 for the World Eaters in the second go around because reasons, but yes.
Yeah. So why not Lightning Claws? Because guess what? Those are also rerolling your failed wound rolls.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just go ahead and take a maximum size unit of Terminators with Lightning Claws. And that is going to be, 2 base attacks, 3 for Lightning Claws, 4 on the charge because you're a Space Marine, 5 because you're a Terminator or you're a World Eater.
Right.
And then you get to do that again. So attacks. So we're looking at 9 attacks a guy.
Yeah, 9 attacks a guy, 10 on the sergeant, and I believe you can still use
11 on the sergeant.
11? Okay.
Yeah, because he gets the double. So yeah.
And I wonder then if you can. Yeah, you still can use a 3 command point strategy and have him go again.
Yep. So yeah, you're looking at 11 attacks a guy times 10, which is 110.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. At strength 5 -2, 1 damage.
Rerolling your failed wound rolls.
And if you're fighting Imperium, I mean, oh man, there's just a lot.
Yeah. Yep. And of course, they count as infantry, so you can use veteran.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's great.
The only pity is that nobody in good conscience would take a psyker to this battlefield. Or at least no psyker in good conscience would want to be on the same side of this.
No, you see that army of. You just kind of decide to go the other direction.
That's one thing I do like. I want to comment about Age of Sigmar Khorne is that all their anti-psyker stuff is just anti-wizard, period. It doesn't matter if it's yours or your opponent's. Everybody that's trying to cast spells is getting boned by one of the many skulls on the throne.
Yeah. They still have that same thing with World Eaters, right?
Scorn of Sorcery. Oh, yeah, you can't have any. Khorne doesn't allow, the Mark of Khorne does not allow for any of that crap. Now, you could ally with somebody much like the Word Bear, or not the Word Bears. Yeah, ally with the Word Bears, guys. In fact, they're best of bros. No joke. But you could, like the Black Templar, it'd be like them.
Yep. Cool. Okay.
What other little trinkets are here in here? Like, Apocalyptic Frenzy is great if you just want to, just tear ass up the field with a large unit of Khorne Berserkers and really make your opponent hate you.
Oh yeah, basically it's like a pre-game advance move.
Yeah,
You can move them 9 inches before the game begins.
right, right. And I was like, man, you go
That's
first
awesome.
would be great. Yep.
Yeah. Or if you want to just get that unit of Terminators in the and have your opponent have to deal with them
How,
because they're going to be coming for you their first turn.
and I'm overlooking Skull for the Skull Thrones is awesome too. If you're fighting against a character heavy army, you can
Hmm.
get some command points back through the course of play. That's pretty neat.
Oh yeah. I wonder if this will be errated eventually to a cost.
To what? I'm sorry.
If it'll cost 0 command points in the future because we've seen a lot of stuff now.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, maybe, maybe.
Hmm. Anyways,
Uh,
side thought.
yeah, I do like Wild
Yeah.
Fury. That's nice. I tend to take my World Eaters with chain swords. I like the large number of attacks. Good lord, do I like that? So
Yes, I agree. Yeah, had a little bit of experience with Corn Berserkers with my Legion, and the couple times I've done it, I've taken 1 unit of chain swords and 1 unit of chain axes. The chain swords always out
they always what?
just they always outperform.
Yeah, they do. They're great.
I, w-
It's that
I would
strength
think they
five.
would bounce out, but yeah,
No, it's that strength five. When you get +1 to wound, really the +1 strength and -1 AP, just from the volume alone of how many armor saves they have to take. Unless you're going up against something
yeah,
that has a 6+ save, and you're like, I don't really want you to risking a 1 in 6 chance. No, I don't know. Now that
yeah.
said, with heavy cover being a thing coming up, maybe. Let's go past that. But yeah, I don't know. So that said, when we go to build our World Eaters army and we do a model count, all the guys
Hmm.
I have with chain swords, feel free. Like that, we'll just make sure those are mine. Yeah, whatever. No, I think I have a fair amount, but Stoke the Nails. I want to point this one out. If it
Hmm.
wasn't enough that you have, if you're most of the time you're fighting Imperium anyway, great. But if you're not, you pick a biker or infantry unit and you're getting Death to False Emperor against them. Awesome. If you're doing against Imperium units, it's on a freaking 5+ now.
Jeez,
I mean, at that point, I
yeah.
could see a 15-man unit of Corn Berserkers charging a knight and just see what happens with the right amount of
Oh yeah,
stratagems.
they would love that. They'd just be like, all right, it's a race to the top to claim the skull.
Yep.
Start climbing up on that knight like it's an like ants on a freaking
Yeah.
I don't know.
All
Yeah.
right, and to top all that off, artifacts in this are great. I mean, we could go through each one of them and tell
But
you why they're
really,
great.
there's just a couple that we really right?
I don't know. The one I thought was lazy was a Crimson Killer, and we already got Karn with this awesome one. But I do want to draw attention. Gorefather is mentioned. I love Gorefather.
Yeah.
Gorefather was on the Furious Abyss, if I'm not mistaken. But
But
yeah,
that's an amazing one. Taking a like an exalted champion chain axe is really cheap, and now you can have him have freaking relic chain axe
yeah,
that's +2, -2, 3 damage. Oh, and by the way, an unmodified wound 6, the target suffers 3 mortal wounds.
it is a bit unwieldy though. -1 to hit.
Well, it's Primarch's main hand weapon,
That's
right?
true. It's true. The Banner of Rage. Holy crap!
Yeah, so that unit of Terminators we were talking about earlier,
Yeah,
yeah, this,
get him near a Dark Apostle.
yeah. You unfurl that Banner of Rage, and now they've got an additional attack apiece, and that's going to stack with your Blood for the Blood God ability. And if you spend the 3 command points to go a third time, it's
That's
just
almost one of those where you make sure he's already in combat, and then everything else in that following turn responds in kind charges, and he unfurls that banner. Boom.
yep.
Uh,
Oh, and it doesn't prevent you from actually using your litany, so you can use your +1 to wound in close combat litany
yep,
as well.
yep. And all those units within 6 inches of them. Make sure they also have their banners of corn so they can get their rerolls of charge.
Yep.
Very cool stuff.
Yeah.
There's
Well, cool.
there's a lot of good stuff. Helm of Furor. Yeah. Add to the strength characters as relics start the charge phase. This model relics an 8-inch enemy unit and must declare a charge. Whew, that's fun.
Hmm. Yeah.
Axe of Dismemberment, Blood Hunger is also pretty cool. Yeah, this book I think is worth checking out for anybody that has the Heretic Astartes Codex.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's so much fluff and unique now flavor to go with all your different trader legions. I mean, we spent a lot of time on Iron Warriors and Bearers and Night Lords because those are, I think, the ones that are kind of closer to our heart. But I mean, the World Eaters, they may not have like the competitive edge, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't know,
You
but
say that, but we'll see when Ninth Edition rolls around. I think some of these might be brought into a cleaner context.
oh yeah, for sure. I think Ninth Edition is going to change a lot.
Yeah, we'll dig this for a moment. If the trend runs true and having Hellbrutes running next to your World Eater units, they're going to get that +1 attack. Maybe you do have a shooting weapon on them, or you take 2 close combat weapons and 2 heavy flamers.
Yeah, why not?
Exactly, why not?
Great.
And it's going to be cheaper than most of the other outfit options, and it's just
because he's got the 2 fists, he gets +1 attack, and 2 heavy flamers inside.
And another reason I really like this army is that if you take, I know they're more expensive than most other units, but let's say you take, a few, like 3 units of Khorne Berserkers, and on the Sergeant you give them Power Fists. If any one of those gets into close combat with a vehicle, you bet your ass that vehicle is going to be crippled by the end of that close combat phase.
If not outright dead.
Yeah, just by odds. Better yet, if 2 of them get in there, and I wouldn't say don't bank on that alone. I shouldn't buy odds. Somebody will correct me. You can soften it up and encourage that, but part of that, you can still take other chaos units that lend to that. Just because you're Khorne doesn't mean you're not going to have some shooting. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and like Master of Executions, that's a unit to.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
He's like 60 points.
I think the Berserker Glaive is kind of targeted towards him. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, it's your characters are going to be just as important for your warriors.
And they should be. That's kind of follows suit with the Age of Sigmar army as well.
Yeah. But yeah.
So that brings us to the end.
It does. At the very end here, we got the, hey, you should check out too, which is, the Space Marine book.
Hey, is that Kill Team I see? I think we're going to be doing a bit of that, right?
Yeah, sure is. You should definitely check out our podcast that we'll be doing this Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to record this Saturday. It'll probably get loaded up sometime next week. If you're following along, probably not too closely, but it usually ranks in about Monday or Tuesday. Check us out on the Facebook. Hit a like. Let us know what we're doing right. And God forbid, let us know what we're doing wrong. Now, that said, this week I think we're going to be taking Visha through the specialists, some of the advanced rules, and if time allows, maybe building him a kill team.
That should be fun.
Should be fun. And if you guys like this format as we do Psychic Awakening, and another plug, the next one will be is it Blood of Bale? No, what the heck did they call that one?
Yes, Blood of Baal. That's the Blood Angels and Tyranid.
Yes, that will be next on our docket. We're going to shoot for about 2 weeks from now, same time. Probably won't go as long, but if you like this format, we may do the same treatment for deep dives on Kill Team, whether that be the commanders or the elites or just some of the factions themselves. Like, don't let our ignorance on our initial podcast fool you. We have a lot to talk about, so.
Yeah, that's right. Those books expand quite heavily base rule book. So, yeah, there's a lot to deep into.
Cool. We got anything else you want to say to the world? You're still on live radio, so. Hi, Mom. How about that?
Yeah. No. Yeah, well, there's that, and then, love you. Love you all, guys. Love you so much.
Thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. It's been a pleasure, even if you've stuck with us from some or none, the ramblings to the beginning and the end. I'm Fu Man Yu.
And I'm Cyprian.
Thanks for joining us. This has been a Shovel House production, and this has been, Fire and Furry. We never answered which one was Fire. Oh, well. We'll fade out, and I think the 5-second delay, maybe if you guys are lucky, we'll see. All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.